Han Xianyu had no idea his words had given Yi Wanwan away completely and pressed on. You simply flirted with Xinjie and me, but your friend was in a more terrible plight. A big man like him was taken advantage of by you. You didn't really do anything to him, right? Yi Wanwan. So all those marks on Si Han's body were caused by me? Stop talking, leave me alone. Han Xianyu sensed that something was off in the atmosphere, so he left after giving her the breakfast. In a flash, there was only Yi Wanwan and Si Han alone in the apartment. Yi Wanwan debated between rushing out and begging him for forgiveness. After a very long time, she didn't dare to just leave things like that, so she walked carefully towards Si Han. Baby, I was wrong. I was the one messing around. I'm immoral. I'm the eyesore. Shit, what should I do? I know I violated the agreement, but to err is human. Nobody is infallible. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone. Yi Wanwan couldn't come up with any more phrases, so she simply used this. Wanwan's your beloved little darling. So, can you give Wanwan a chance, please? The man looked at her coldly with a faint smile. His feelings were obvious. Yi Wanwan knew she was in deep trouble this time, so she raised her hand and said, I would like to file an appeal. Last night, Han Xianyu was kind enough to introduce me to some people in the entertainment industry when he brought me to a party. Baby, you know how parties are, you have to drink a little, and I wanted to just drink for show at first to maintain my persona, but I didn't expect to get drunk so easily. I have no recollection of what happened afterwards. I really didn't know I couldn't hold my liquor well. Seeing that Si Han had no reaction, Yi Wanwan became desperate. Baby, why don't we do this? From today onwards, I'll be your sweet little pillow, anywhere and anytime. I'll be there whenever you feel like sleeping. What do you think? Si Han gave her a sideways glance and said icily, Isn't it more convenient if I locked you up in bed? Yi Wanwan's little heart shivered when she heard that. She racked her brains and replied, That there's a difference. It's so boring if you lock me up in bed. If you don't, we can unlock many different positions. We can do it in the dormitory, office, home, car, outdoors. Am I right? Si Han. Yi Wanwan hopped over. Don't be mad anymore, alright? Though I was a little drunk and out of control, I was still faithful to you, and in the end, baby, you were the one I brought to bed. Even when I was under the influence and lost awareness, it was still within my innate abilities to choose you. What does this prove? It says I'm true to you, baby. The corners of Si Han's lips moved upward slightly. Yi Wanwan saw his face relaxed and immediately took that as a good sign. Baby's the best. Si Han. Did I say she's forgiven? He pinched her delicate chin and got dangerously close to her as he mouthed each word carefully. Yi Wanwan, you really think I'm so easily fooled? With that position, Yi Wanwan pecked Si Han on the cheek. No. Baby, you're so clever and handsome. You're not easily fooled at all. It's just that you love me so much that you can't bear to bully me. Si Han. Wanwan's little class. In order to deal with the great devil, you must be shameless. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. At Dazzling Media, the news about an externally hired manager spread throughout the entire company. As expected, the senior managers were obviously unhappy. Never mind that he didn't climb his way up, but he was so young to boot. Why doesn't he choose to be a celebrity instead, since he's so young and good-looking? Why must he be a manager? After all, being a manager and an artiste wasn't the same. The earlier one debuted as an artiste, the better, but a manager required lots of experience and extensive networks. Most of the managers started out as assistants or were in charge of marketing. They normally didn't have an artiste under them without working at least 3 to 5 years, so there were only a few managers in the industry who were under 30 years old. But the older employees knew in their hearts that Chairman Chu was already wary of this dictator, Zhou Wenbin, who held power over all the artistes. Thus, Chairman Chu gave Yi Bai extensive powers and made sure everyone agreed to cooperate with him. At the moment, everybody was just waiting to see what would happen. Nobody dared to choose a team, but it was obvious that not many people had a good feeling about Yi Bai. Zhou Wenbin had been rebuked by Yi Bai in front of Chairman Chu, and Yi Bai seemed capable on the surface, but Chairman Chu couldn't control what happened in private. This young guy didn't have any background, no backers, no experience, and the artiste he chose was way past his prime. How could he fight against Zhou Wenbin? There was chaos in the film studio. A group of newcomers were having their photos taken for publicity purposes. Many of them weren't even in their 20s yet. The youngest was only 16. All of them were at the age when they were freshest. Luo Chen arrived very early that morning. He still wore a plain t-shirt and jeans with a pair of old and washed-out sneakers as he waited silently in a corner. It was currently 9:10 a.m. 10 minutes past the time his manager told him yesterday. At that moment, an attractive-looking artiste was joking with some people and wasn't looking straight as he accidentally bumped into Luo Chen. Seeing that the person in his way was Luo Chen, the artiste's face suddenly turned ugly. Luo Chen, this artiste, Lin Hao, was under Zhou Wenbin as well. As his manager was the strongest in the company and the film he recently acted in was very popular, Lin Hao was in the limelight and a few newcomers crowded around him, trying to curry favor with him. News of the incident in Zhou Wenbin's office yesterday already spread. Everyone knew the new manager chose an unpopular artiste under Zhou Wenbin, and rumor had it that Zhou Wenbin refused to let him go and used Lin Hao to switch with Luo Chen. What's worse was that the new manager refused to budge as he thought Lin Hao wasn't good enough, making Lin Hao the butt of the joke in the entire office. When he saw Luo Chen, Lin Hao naturally had a rage boiling inside him. He rubbed his chin and sized him up with a threatening gaze. "What are you doing here?" "My manager asked me to wait here." Luo Chen seemed to be accustomed to receiving this kind of treatment, as he didn't move and stayed put as he replied expressionlessly. Lin Hao laughed out loud. "A manager? That little Adonis who just entered the company?" The newcomers next to Lin Hao also chimed in and sneered to please Lin Hao. "Ayo, I wondered who that was. Is he the future star the new manager handpicked? He has backing, so no wonder he's so arrogant now. He can't make a comeback just by changing his manager, can he? Even Chu Ji couldn't groom this garbage, yet he's still thinking of making a comeback." Lin Hao crossed his arms and laughed. "Don't say that, guys. He's our senior after all since he debuted 3 years ago. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." The entertainment industry was really just a huge display of vanity. No matter how early you debuted, you'd be at the lowest level if you were unpopular. Like an ant, anyone could crush you. Luo Chen knew his rank very well after these 3 years. At first he even tried to rebel and stand up for himself, but after a while, he became numb to all the mockery. Lin Hao glanced at the small-time artiste next to him, and he immediately got the message. He knocked his shoulder straight into Luo Chen and said, "Sorry, we're about to start filming. Please leave, don't be a nuisance here." Before, Luo Chen might have just left without a word, but thinking about what his manager's warning from last night, he stopped in his tracks. The small-time artiste mockingly said, "Don't you understand the words of a human? I've never met anyone so shameless. Have you gone nuts from your dreams of becoming famous, senior? Weren't you delighted that you managed to hug a big thigh? Why do you still want to freeload on the filming of small-time artistes like us?" Noticing the ruckus, the cameraman yelled in annoyance, "Those who have nothing to do with this, get out. Don't disturb everyone else." The small-time artiste sneered, "Heard that? Crawl back to your owner." Luo Chen clenched his fists and turned around, ready to leave. However, the moment he turned around, a warm palm pressed onto his shoulders. The person appeared unhurried as he walked very leisurely, and showed an indifferent expression. "Yo, it's so lively in here." Seeing Yi Bai appear, the arrogant small-time artiste turned pale. He glanced at Lin Hao. After all, this Yi Bai was an important person to Chairman Chu. Lin Hao's face darkened as he glared at the main culprit who embarrassed him so thoroughly. "Great manager Yi, please look after your artiste carefully. Don't let him go around barking by himself." Yi Wanwan wanted to laugh. Even if she met Luo Chen only once, she knew how quiet he was. Yet his guy claimed Luo Chen was the one barking. Yi Wanwan smiled. How I take care of my artist isn't important, but shutting 1 or 2 people out, that's a piece of cake." The moment Yi Wanwan said that, a raging fire blazed in Lin Hao's eyes and he sneered. "Shut me out? You? Who do you think you are? You're waving a chicken feather as a token of authority. You really think so highly of yourself? I'm one of Binji's men. I don't think Yi Bai has the guts to touch me. Yi Wanwan still had that indifferent expression on her face. She looked suspiciously at the face that had gone through too many plastic surgeries, then casually made a call. Hello, Chairman Chu? Lin Hao, who looked fearless up until now, turned totally pale the instant he saw Yi Wanwan call Chairman Chu. Yi Wanwan continued in a very relaxed tone. Haha, Chairman Chu, it's nothing much. I just wanted to shut someone out, so I'm asking you to extend your powers. There's this dumb guy who said I was waving a chicken feather as a token of authority. Oh, I don't have to go through you? Just shut him out if I want to? Hearing that, Lin Hao couldn't maintain his composure anymore, and his whole body started trembling. And the artistes who mocked Luo Chen together with Lin Hao didn't dare to make a sound. They collectively retreated backwards silently, afraid they'd be dragged down with him. Yi Wanwan curled her lips, looked at the pale-faced Lin Hao, then continued. But he's an artist under Director Zhou. What? I can shut off any artist who's below B-list? All right. Thank you so much, Chairman Chu. Upon hearing that, Lin Hao couldn't hold it in anymore and rushed to Yi Bai. Yi Manager Yi. I was wrong. I was rash. I shouldn't have been rude towards you. Please give me one more chance. I won't dare be so disrespectful next time. As Lin Hao panicked, he didn't show a single shred of arrogance. Yi Bai's phone call was like a hammer, knocking him to his senses instantly. Since he rose in popularity after his show, many newcomers to the industry attempted to get closer to him to suck up to him. And it got to his head. He forgot he was just a C-list artist. On the other hand, Yi Bai was someone appointed by Chairman Chu. Even Binji had been avoiding trouble recently, and didn't dare go against Yi Bai. Yi Bai already consulted Chairman Chu, and Binji was even willing to switch Lin Hao for Luo Chen yesterday. Today, Binji could give Lin Hao up completely to save himself. I could really be shut off any time. Yi Wanwan forced a smile and looked straight into Lin Hao's eyes. I'm not the one you should be apologizing to. Lin Hao's face darkened as he clenched his fists tightly. Finally, he turned to Luo Chen and said, enunciating each word carefully, Senior Luo Chen, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. After that, he immediately turned to Yi Wanwan anxiously. Was that all right, Yi Ji? Please explain to Chairman Chu. I've learned from my mistakes. Yi Wanwan was finally satisfied, so she took her phone out and placed it directly in front of Lin Hao. Everyone, including Lin Hao, saw the contacts directory on the screen. Yi Wanwan didn't make a call at all just now. Lin Hao opened his mouth dumbfounded, and he stared blankly at Yi Wanwan's phone. After he came to his senses over what happened, his entire face was the color of pig's liver. I was fooled. This damn Adonis, he actually fooled me like a monkey. Lin Hao's lungs nearly exploded and he was about to curse, but his gaze met Yi Bai's ice-cold eyes. This was just a warning. In other words, if Lin Hao dared to provoke Yi Bai again, he would really make the call. And if he really made that call. With that thought, Lin Hao didn't dare to let out a single sound. He pushed away from the crowd and left in a huff. After everyone else saw the tactics of this new manager, none of them dared to protest, and they immediately scattered like birds. After all, compared to Lin Hao, they were even more unimportant. Luo Chen looked around the suddenly empty film studio, then looked at his manager who was still very relaxed. Luo Chen's shoulders still felt the warmth from his touch. He was already used to all this mockery, but this was the very first time someone actually stood up for someone as worthless as him. At this moment, after witnessing this attack from Yi Bai, this new manager who had just taken office, the cameraman was afraid he'd become the target of Yi Bai's second attack. He quickly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and explained, So sorry, Yi Ji, you made an appointment yesterday, but because these newcomers had urgent publicity needs and needed their photos taken ASAP, I let them go first. Yi Bai didn't seem to have the intention of punishing him as he pulled a chair, sat down and commanded, Let's start. All right. The cameraman heaved a sigh of relief and quickly ushered everyone to get ready. At the same time, Luo Chen was also led into the makeup room to change his clothes and get styled. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. When Luo Chen walked out of the makeup room, everyone's eyes lit up. Before, his hair was too long, so Luo Chen looked a little disheveled. Now his black hair was short and his fringe had been trimmed, revealing a bright and full forehead and a pair of glistening eyes. It was unlike those deliberately drawn, European, and thick double eyelids that looked dull and lifeless once makeup was removed. The outer corners of Luo Chen's eyes were sloped upwards. Like people in the olden days, his double eyelids were extremely natural, and his thin lips were the shade of cherry blossoms, making them look extremely kissable. His skin was perfectly smooth without a single pore visible. The clothes Luo Chen was wearing was requested by Yi Wanwan. It wasn't too over the top. He wore a classic white-collared top, and the only design on it was the star embroidered on his collar. For his bottoms, he wore a pair of black pants. This look was neat and simple, matching Luo Chen's slightly cool and distant temperament. It was just like the ignorant yet hopeful figure in everyone's teenage memory. No wonder Zhou Wenbin didn't want to give Luo Chen up even after 3 years. Luo Chen was simply too pure and in the entertainment industry. This was extremely hard to come by. Since he hadn't had such a drastic makeover for a long time, Luo Chen was a little uncomfortable with the staff, and Yi Wanwan sizing him up. Yi Ji, what do you think? Is it all right? The makeup artist asked. Not bad. Yi Wanwan nodded. Most importantly, Luo Chen has a good foundation. His skin's very soft, and I didn't have to do much. Although the makeup artist was just saying all this to curry favor, she also genuinely meant it at the same time. After so many years of being a makeup artist, she could easily tell with one look whether someone had undergone plastic surgery or not, and she was sure that this face of Luo Chen's was totally natural. In all fairness, Yi Bai did have quite good taste. Judging by Luo Chen's face, there really weren't many artists who could compare to him. In all of Dazzling, only Gong Su could really match up to him. At this moment, the cameraman adjusted the lighting and walked towards them to ask, Yi Ji, may I know what we're shooting today? Shooting a video, Yi Wanwan replied. The cameraman was under the assumption he'd be taking publicity photos for Luo Chen, and wasn't prepared to shoot a video. He was somewhat taken aback as he asked, shooting a video? What's it about? Luo Chen, who was standing at the side quietly, also turned to look out of curiosity. Yi Wanwan opened a document from her phone and showed it to Luo Chen. Do you still remember this line? Luo Chen looked at her phone and in the next second, he was totally stunned. It was a line from Terrifying Dragon. Remember? How could I not? I remember every single line of Terrifying Dragon clearly, without a single word missing. He was truly passionate about acting and loved being able to take on the roles of different characters. While he was acting in Terrifying Dragon, it was the happiest period of his life. During those 3 years after the show, the cast, crew members, and sword fights often appeared in his dreams. That was the only precious memory he had ever since he debuted. Remember? Luo Chen replied in a trance. We'll film this part today. When Luo Chen heard that, he shuddered. They wanted him to reenact this part again. Yi Wanwan didn't waste any time. She leaned back on the seat and said directly, If you don't have any issues, let's start right away. I'll give you 3 minutes to get into character. Luo Chen was stunned for a while before recovering his composure. He quickly made preparations while the cameraman hurriedly got his equipment ready. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The lights and cameras were ready. Luo Chen was standing in front of the camera. Yi Wanwan sat on the chair opposite, waiting silently. Shortly after, 3 minutes had gone past. Yi Wanwan. Time's up. A hint of panic flashed across Luo Chen's eyes as he spoke hurriedly. It was a sin for me to be born. My entire life. He probably wasn't used to being in front of the camera again. And now Luo Chen was stuck after saying just one phrase. Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. Again. Luo Chen clenched his fists, took a deep breath and tried again. It was a sin for me to be born. My entire life was a sin, everyone and I. As he was about to continue, Yi Wanwan simply cut him off. Your expression's too stiff. I want you to reenact the scene, not recite lines here. Again. Luo Chen's face turned paler. He closed his eyes to calm himself down, then started again. However, this time, Only 2 words managed to leave his mouth before he was stuck yet again. There was no color on Luo Chen's face anymore. He was as white as a sheet of paper. Sorry. Yi Wanwan didn't have any expression on her face. Again. On the 4th take, Luo Chen still wasn't able to put any emotion into his acting. Yi Wanwan shouted cut continuously. Luo Chen hadn't passed a single take after over 10 tries. After the 20th take, and watching Luo Chen's performance turn from bad to worse with each take, Yi Wanwan stopped rapping on the armrest of the chair, and looked as if her patience was wearing thin. There was no warmth on her face. As if sensing the manager's unhappiness, the entire atmosphere in the filming studio was suffocating. Nobody even dared to breathe. And under all the immensely anxious gazes from everyone, Luo Chen was soaking wet from his sweat, and his fists were tightly clenched. I can't do it. As expected, I can't do it. Before, he was like a fish in the water in front of the camera, but now, standing in front of the camera with everyone's eyes on him, made his entire body stiffen up and shiver. It was totally beyond his control, and he even started to develop feelings of repulsion towards himself. Yi Wanwan naturally noticed something was wrong with Luo Chen. Not only did he find being in front of the camera repulsive, he also found himself repulsive. The Luo Chen in the past was very bright. He was confident in front of the camera like it was his main stage, his empire. But now, being in front of the camera was like being trapped in a cage. His entire body was bound by an invisible chain. She also noticed that Luo Chen seemed to hate his own face, and kept hiding from the camera subconsciously. Although she expected some of this behavior, Luo Chen's condition was worse than she thought. Yi Wanwan slammed the table next to her suddenly with a loud paw, and said icily, "This face of yours is your greatest strength. It's a gift many yearn to have. It's been bestowed upon you by God to help you put food in your mouth. You hate it for bringing you bad luck? Let me tell you, everything bad that happened to you wasn't because of your face, but it was because you were weak and incompetent." Meng Liang received the Best Actor award when he was around 18 years old. As his mother fell ill, he went MIA for 6 years, then came back only when he was 24 years old. Yet he still managed to get another award as Best Actor. Li Zhongyi was acting in supporting male roles for 30 years and got his first role as the male lead only when he was 53 and immediately shot to fame. Xiao Koexian was ridiculed ever since she debuted, but she kept swimming against the current, and is making her way up, not showing any signs of weakness at all. Today, she's nominated for the Golden Orchid's Best Actress Award. You've only lost 3 years of your life and were treated unfairly, yet you think it's the end of your life? With those words, Yi Wanwan's expression froze. In a place like the entertainment industry, if you want to reach the top, you have to go through things hundreds, maybe even 1,000 times worse than this while under immense pressure. If you're not strong enough, then I'm very sorry, but I suggest you leave the entertainment industry soon. I won't waste my time on an artist who doesn't have any conviction. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. In a moment, the atmosphere in the film studio solidified into a big block of ice. The person who was normally very easygoing, and was always so relaxed like a good-for-nothing man from a wealthy family, suddenly became a demon. A terrifying aura emanated from all around him. Even the cameraman and other workers were dumbstruck by this sudden explosion of dreadful aura. Much less Luo Chen, who was in the heart of the typhoon. Luo Chen was trembling. There was no color on his face at all. His thin lips were in a straight line, and his entire body almost combusted into flames by the deafening tongue lashing he got. He really wished he could disappear into the air. Yi Wanwan curbed her anger slightly, but the coldness on her face did not lessen as she said, "Now, this is your last chance. If you keep this up, our collaboration shall end here." When Luo Chen heard the last 5 words, his eyes constricted and he lifted his head immediately. Am I going to be given up on once again? His contract with Dazzling hadn't ended yet. If Yi Bai gave up on him now, his management would return to Zhou Wenbin's hands. Yi Wanwan swept her gaze over the workers. Everyone get ready. All the workers were stunned for a long time before returning to their senses. The cameraman quickly adjusted the angle, the lighting director adjusted the light accordingly, and the makeup artist rushed over to wipe Luo Chen's sweat and retouched his makeup. Seeing the boy's pale white face, the makeup artist sympathized with him but couldn't help him. The entertainment industry was a place where the weak fell prey to the strong. Although what Yi Bai said was pretty harsh, it was the truth. Very soon, everything was in place and the light shone on Luochen alone. Everyone's eyes were on that boy in white top standing in the middle of the spotlight. Luochen stood there vacant and lifeless, unable to free himself from Yi Wanwan's words. He looked so fragile, like he could break with just one touch. It feels as if I was abandoned by the entire world. Begin. Following Yi Wanwan's order to begin, the red light on the camera started flashing. Everyone held their breath subconsciously. 1 second went by, 2 seconds went by, 3 seconds went by. Luochen still stood there like he'd lost his soul, not moving or speaking at all. After a few seconds, there was still no reaction from Luochen. He was like a lifeless puppet. The makeup artist shook her head, feeling sorry for him, while the cameraman also sighed and prepared to turn his camera off. The face of the young man sitting on the seat opposite was gradually turning frosty as well, ending the unendurable dead silence. Yi Wanwan finally spoke up. Since this is the case. The moment Yi Wanwan spoke, a low and hoarse laugh resounded in the huge filming studio. Ha! Under the spotlight, Luochen lowered his gaze and suddenly let out a chuckle. Luochen shortly raised his head. His clear eyes swept across everyone in the room. It was a sin for me to be born. My entire life was a sin. The teenager's clear gaze was like a trapped beast raging in an attempt to charge out of its cage. It was as if he was using all his energy to suppress the surging feelings in him. I, Lin Luochen, haven't done anything untoward to any of you. Yet each one you, all of you, are aggressively forcing me to my doom. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. I've been kind towards people my entire life, yet everyone has cheated and insulted me. I have a clear conscience in heaven and earth. Yet this heaven and earth also despised and hated me. With those words, the teenager suddenly started laughing. His smile was like a blossoming flower with thorns around it. He was simply standing in the film studio, but it felt as if there was a strong wind howling crazily around him. His clean and innocent face was stained with enormous sentiment, and he stirred up strong emotions in everyone. A little madness leaked out of his gloomy eyes as he said, "So from today onwards, I'm the only one who can stop myself. There shall be a massacre. I won't spare any humans. I'll kill every human on this earth. The world denies me, I shall destroy this universe." The moment he said this last line, it was as if something terrifying had broken free from its shackles and escaped from his body in that split second, howling and rushing towards the 9th celestial sphere. Silence. Everyone in the film studio was flabbergasted. They stared blankly at Luochen, who seemed as if he had become another person completely. He was obviously still the same person, yet that face, how could it become so terrifying? An indeterminate amount of time had passed when everyone finally regained their senses and realized that Luochen was acting. Just now he was reenacting a classic scene from Terrifying Dragon, when the big triad boss turned dark. It was too earth-shaking. Terrifying Dragon was a sensational hit before. Almost everyone watched it, and what Luochen reenacted made everyone recall that scene from Terrifying Dragon instantly. At this moment, present-day Luochen was akin to the teenager, Lin Luochen, from the show, who was also forced to his doom. Even though Luochen was wearing a modern outfit, the outcome of his acting wasn't inferior to the original scene at all. It was even more moving watching it now. However, with the manager's residual hostility still lingering, everyone still didn't dare to utter a word. Their eyes all turned towards him sitting silently on the chair. Luochen's performance was so exceptional, he'll be able to pass, right? Luochen calmed down a little before coming out of character. The aura around him dissipated instantly, and he was back to his usual self. He stared uneasily at his manager. His body was tense as he stood stiffly on the spot. It was as if he was standing there waiting for his final judgment. After a moment of silence, Yi Wanwan slowly stood up. Under everyone's gaze, she slowly made her way towards the teenager. As she got closer, the teenager got more and more nervous and stiff. Even his breathing almost stopped from looking at the manager's cold expression. Finally, Yi Wanwan stood directly in front of the teenager. She stretched out her hand and touched the teenager's soft black hair. And her tone was like melting ice as she spoke gently. "See, you can do a good job, right?" Luo Chen's face went blank. His bright eyes were wide open, and in the next second, tears started streaming down his beautiful face as he looked down and sobbed silently. Yi Wanwan didn't expect this reaction at all, and her hand in the teenager's hair stiffened up. Did I overdo it? Why is he crying? I actually made him cry. Was I too fierce? Was I really fierce just now?" Yi Wanwan's heart was pulled into chaos, but she had to maintain her dignity and persona, so she expressionlessly passed a handkerchief to him. She said coldly, "Why are you crying? Real men don't cry this easily." Luo Chen choked with sobs, nodded, then took the handkerchief from her carefully as wiped the tears off quickly. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. In the office. "Do you have any background in martial arts?" Yi Wanwan asked. Luo Chen pressed his lips. A little, but before he got some training in order to film Terrifying Dragon, but that was 3 years ago after all. Yi Wanwan passed him a timetable. "You're probably unfamiliar with it since you haven't practiced it for so long, so I've arranged martial arts training sessions for you. Just focus on practicing with the master these next few days. Don't bother with anything else, and most importantly, don't bother with those unimportant people. A lion never turns its head to a dog's barking." Luo Chen nodded seriously and unquestioningly took the timetable. He didn't ask why his manager was forcing him to go for martial arts training when other managers signed their artists up to sing and dance. He also didn't question why Yi Wanwan made him do the filming today. Seeing how obedient Luo Chen was, Yi Wanwan's heart softened. "You can't afford a team for now, so just work with the temps in the company for now. In the future, you'll definitely have a team of your own." Her words seemed like a promise, but it was more like a prophecy that he'd be able to make it big. Luo Chen looked at the man's icy cold face, and a sense of warmth entered his dead heart. For the next while, Luo Chen led a mundane life. Aside from visiting his mom at the hospital, he only went to the company building for martial arts training. At the company, everyone waited in anticipation to see what Yi Bai was up to. In the end, nobody would have guessed that after Luo Chen filmed a video, he wouldn't do anything other than attending his training sessions every day. Why's Yi Bai making his artist attend martial arts training? Isn't it a waste of time? Is he being prepped to be a martial arts actor? He really has a weird way of doing things. Luo Chen ignored all the weird gazes and gossip around him, and did whatever he needed to do every day. At the same time, Lin Hao took up a role as the main lead in a youth idol drama series. Being cast to play the role of the male lead after debuting not long ago was enough to make all the newcomers envious. Lin Hao's future was undoubtedly bright. Today, Lin Hao came to the office as usual with an entourage of newcomers and interns trying to curry his favor. When he walked past Luo Chen, Lin Hao stopped in his tracks and was no longer as sorry as he looked that day when Yi Wanwan fooled him. He was back to his arrogant self as he looked disdainfully at Luo Chen like he was looking at a lowly ant. His face looked as if speaking a word to him would lower his status. Upon seeing Luo Chen's sweaty body, the group of little fresh meat started sneering at him. Senior Luo Chen's really pitiful. He went for training yet again. He's so hardworking. His future must be limitless. After all, he's following a dog manager who counts on Chairman Chu's support. Oops, wrong. I meant he's following a capable master. All the best, Senior Luo Chen. Senior Luo Chen, please give me your autograph. I'm afraid the next time we see you, we won't even be qualified to speak to you. Everyone started laughing once they were done with their mockery. Luo Chen wiped the sweat off his forehead. His gaze swept across everyone without emotion, and he left without a word. Upstairs in Zhou Wenbin's office, Zhou Wenbin fiddled with the new antique that just arrived as he asked, "How's the young lad doing so far?" The plump manager quickly replied, "Benji, don't worry. He hasn't done anything yet, he's probably just bluffing, trying to act all mysterious. Don't let your guard down." Zhou Wenbin looked disapprovingly at him. The man rubbed his hands together as he sucked up to him. Benji, like what you said before, you're Benji after all and have been in the industry for over 20 years. There isn't anything you haven't seen before. A youngster like him can't fight against you. Chairman Chu will find out very soon that Dazzling has to rely on you. Zhou Wenbin's mood lifted as he listened to all the flattery. He asked casually, "How's Gongsu doing recently?" "Benji, don't worry. Gongsu's quite well behaved and hasn't caused any trouble so far. The scandal from before has subsided as well. He should be able to show up in a few days." Zhou Wenbin blew the porcelain in his hands lightly and nodded, satisfied. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. A few days later, Luo Chun was the same as before, dragging his exhausted body home. A musty smell filled his shabby and narrow rental apartment. Even the white paint on the walls was peeling off. 2 weeks had gone by in a blink of an eye. Aside from martial arts training sessions, his manager hadn't arranged anything else for him. No publicity, no assignments, no casting at all. In order to attend his training, he resigned from all his odd jobs. His mother's medical bills were getting more and more expensive. The over 10,000 yuan he received before wouldn't last much longer. And if he didn't have an income? Luo Chun showered, then turned on his television, distracted. The television screen flashed for a long time before the images appeared. Some entertainment news was on, and a trailer for a show was playing. Luo Chun was stunned when he saw the trailer on the screen. It was Terrifying Dragon. In the trailer, the main lead, Ling Xiaozhe, moved gracefully. His face was extremely dashing. Even though Luo Chun was the secondary lead before, his role was very likable, so he was just as popular as the main lead and shared the limelight with Ling Xiaozhe, even surpassing him slightly. But today, 3 years later, Ling Xiaozhe signed a contract with Yi Group's Emperor Sky Entertainment, and currently holds the same status as Han Xianyu as a minor manager of Emperor Sky. As for him, Luo Chun looked at the television, which had started to flicker once again as a trace of bitterness appeared on his face. The sorrowful voice of the female host emitted from the television. 3 days ago, the well-known martial arts novelist, Mr. Lin Zong, passed away after living to a ripe age of 83. The literature and entertainment world have expressed their condolences. Hearing that statement, Luo Chun was dumbfounded. Old Mr. Lin Zong actually passed away. In order to prevent his mind from being muddled by the sneers and ridicule from the people around him, he had been busy training all this while, so he didn't keep up with the news. The voice from the television went on. As we all know, Lin Zong had many classic martial arts works, of which the most popular was Terrifying Dragon. 3 years ago, the series Terrifying Dragon was so popular throughout China that the actors in the series all rose to fame and became very active in the showbiz. Of course, the main lead, who played the role of Yun Hai in Terrifying Dragon, gained popularity overnight, and according to recent reports, he has taken up a role in the latest film by director Jiang. Following that was a lengthy speech introducing Ling Xiaozhe, and the script also included an introduction of some other stars from the show. As for him, all he got was this phrase: he was out of the showbiz right after Terrifying Dragon, and there's been no news about him ever since. At this moment, a familiar yet unfamiliar face appeared on the big screen behind the female host. On the screen, the teenager looked as perfect as a painting and was sparring in the sky with the main lead, Yun Hai, moving very naturally and fluidly. "That's Lin Luo Chun. That's me." He was still in a daze when all of a sudden, his phone started ringing, interrupting his train of thought. Luo Chun shook his head and suppressed the haze in his head, then picked up the phone. "Hello." When he saw the caller ID, Luo Chun was somewhat surprised. The person calling was an artiste who debuted around the same time as him. Although that artiste didn't start out as well as he did, he managed to progress well eventually, and they lost contact. Why's he calling now all of a sudden? Luo Chun had just picked up the call when an excited voice came through the receiver immediately. "Luo Chun, you're really great. Good for you. I didn't realize that you could hide so well." Luo Chun was totally confused and he furrowed his brows. "What? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." The person on the other end was somewhat speechless. Why were you still faking it, huh? I really have no idea what you're talking about. Sensing that Luo Chen really wasn't bluffing, the caller said suspiciously, Don't you know? You're popular now. Your Weibo post went viral. Weibo? Luo Chen turned on his laptop and signed into Weibo. His manager had gotten his Weibo account back, but he hadn't tried logging in until now. The laptop system was quite old, so it took a long time for Luo Chen to log in. Then, he was disconnected by the crazy surge of notifications. Luo Chen was silent for a few seconds. He hadn't come around to what was going on. After several attempts at logging in and turning off all the notifications, he finally managed to stay connected. He opened the main page of his Weibo and was stunned. He knew he hadn't posted on his Weibo for a very long time, but the latest post was updated 2 weeks ago. What he found most unbelievable was that this post had been reposted over 10,000 times, and the number of likes was over 100,000. The comments were endless as well. A video was uploaded along with the Weibo post. Luo Chen opened the video and realized that it was a section from one of the classic scenes in Terrifying Dragon. It was the one he reenacted in the film studio the other day. But that was just a short clip from an old classic film. Why would it garner so much attention? He wasn't some popular artist anyway. The Weibo posts he posted before never got more than 100 reposts. Only a few undying loyal fans left comments. Luo Chen patiently sat through the entire clip. In the video, the eyes of the teenager glistened as he cried, If this world denies me, then I shall destroy this universe. The front part was taken from the old film. However, when it got to the last phrase, the video split into two. Half of it showed the original film while the other half played the clip that was filmed the other day. Destroy this universe, the video of him 3 years ago and the video of him taken 2 weeks ago in a modern outfit spoke these 3 words at the same time. When these 2 clips were placed side by side, even he was stunned by himself. At the same time, he also noticed the words in this Weibo post. Long time no see, I'm back. This is equivalent to a public statement announcing my comeback. However, it probably wasn't popular when it was just posted 2 weeks ago. Nobody probably noticed he posted this. But now, since old Mr. Lin Zong had passed away, the martial arts trend was revived in the entertainment industry once again. All the actors that were in Terrifying Dragon before had posted something related to the news on their Weibo, and this post of his had also been caught up in this wave of posts, becoming instantly popular. Luo Chen's gaze swept to the comments under the Weibo post. Luo Chen's favorite little baby. Ah, the day has come. Luo Chen finally posted on Weibo. He's so dashing in the last 3 seconds. This ID was very familiar. It belonged to a die-hard fan who followed him ever since he shot to fame 3 years ago. Each time he posted something, she left comments up until he stopped making posts half a year ago and stopped receiving any advertisement projects. Sweet mom. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. What did I just see? What's the meaning of this post? Is my husband coming back again? I only love my Chun. The stars will never fall. This was also his die-hard fan. He didn't expect that after so long, he'd still see their posts. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Farmer's Sweet Spring Water. Damn. I was still thinking about the whereabouts of the Lin Luochen in Terrifying Dragon. Then I saw this post. Is the last 3 seconds how Luochen looks like now? Damn. He's even better looking than 3 years ago, huh? He actually hasn't turned ugly. Terrifying Dragon floating in the skies. He's definitely the artiste who shared the limelight with Ling Xiaozhi before. But I just can't figure out why he didn't rise to fame. It's such a pity. Professional troll. I just want to know why the new clip is only 3 seconds long. The appearance-obsessed party can't stand the hunger and thirst any longer. A good little sheep turning bad to become the big villain boss. Isn't that awesome? Before, the final scene of Terrifying Dragon stopped here and everyone was on the edge of their seats. Just when will they be releasing the 2nd season? It's been 3 long years. Diasmectite. Don't you guys know? The director of Terrifying Dragon already posted on his Weibo and said the 2nd season is confirmed. No matter who plays the other characters, only Luochen can take on the role of Lin Luochen. It looks as if time has stopped for him. He still looks exactly the same as the Lin Luo-chun from the past. Wrong, he's even more stunning now. Bored beauty. Are they really filming the second season? It's really happening in my lifetime. I don't care what others want. Lin Luo-chun must be Luo-chun's role. I won't accept any other artiste acting as Lin Luo-chun. The rest of the comments were mostly fans of Terrifying Dragon. Those who loved reading about Lin Luo-chun as well as passersby and the appearance-obsessed party. Everyone assembled as one and formed an unstoppable big stream, working together and making this post become more and more popular. Luo-chun had already forgotten when people last paid attention to him. When he saw those enthusiastic comments and his posts gaining more and more popularity, he was totally dazed and felt as if he was in a dream. He hadn't hung up yet and the envious voice of the caller came through the receiver. With so many reposts and attention, at this rate of popularity, you'll definitely be in the headlines tomorrow. After all, everyone was curious about what happened to you. What's more, there's the huge fan base of Lin Luo-chun, and that poll on the actors for Terrifying Dragon 2. You've already secured the first place in the poll for the role of Lin Luo-chun. Oh right, which expert helped you with that video? It's amazing. That artiste kept going on, and only hung up after half an hour. Right after that, Luo-chun's phone started ringing again while he was still in a daze. They were calls from some other people in the industry either congratulating him or probing him with questions. Luo-chun stared at his phone that rang nonstop. He never realized that he actually had so many friends in the industry. The next morning, on Weibo's list of popular topics was the post of Luo-chun announcing his comeback. The first, second and third most popular searches were Luo-chun Lin Luo-chun, Luo-chun's comeback, and Terrifying Dragon sequel continues. Luo-chun's name had once again appeared before everyone's eyes overnight. It had only been about 10 hours since news of the post reached him. Yet Luo-chun had suddenly risen to fame so rapidly. How could it be? In his office, Zhou Wenbin's face changed drastically when he heard the report from his subordinate. Since he took his artistes out for drinks with their sponsors the night before and had blacked out, he only heard the news that morning. Zhu Hengyong wiped the sweat off his chubby face and said, I never expected this either. Zhou Wenbin stared at the overflowing messages online and forced himself to remain calm. Just a Weibo post that became viral. Why are you panicking? Zhu Hengyong scowled miserably. But Director Song posted on his Weibo that he'd be officially launching Terrifying Dragon 2, and there's even a casting vote in the post. At the moment, Luo-chun's in first place for the role of Lin Luo-chun. What? Terrifying Dragon 2 foot? Zhou Wenbin's face sunk and he was completely dumbfounded. Zhu Hengyong couldn't help but felt apprehensive. Since old Mr. Lin Zong passed away due to his illness, martial arts films suddenly became very popular, and following that, Director Song stated that in order to fulfill old Mr. Lin Zong's final wishes, he wants to film Terrifying Dragon 2. That Yi Bai's too lucky, huh? Either that or he can predict the future. How was he able to have such good timing? It was totally the right time at the right place with the right people. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Worldwide Entertainment Chairman's Office. Hahaha, not bad. I really didn't choose the wrong person. Mr. Ye's indeed a rare talent. Chu Hongguang had also received the news and was overjoyed. He immediately summoned Yi Wanwan over for a chat. When he suddenly placed Yi Bai in such an important position, many of his staff were unhappy with him. Now that Luo-chun had suddenly exploded in popularity, it proved his good judgment, so Chu Hongguang was obviously in a good mood. Yi Wanwan put on a humble face and acted like she didn't have the intention to take any credit. That's all because Chairman Chu didn't conform to standards and gave me a chance even when I didn't have much qualifications or experience. Otherwise, no matter how hard I tried, I'd still be a nobody. Chu Hongguang was pleased as he listened to Yi Wanwan, and felt that this Yi Bai wasn't ignorant like that Zhou Wenbin. He felt even more satisfied with himself. Thus he instantly took out a stack of files and a bunch of key cards and pushed them over. I'm very clear on rewarding the good and punishing the bad. You've done very well this time, so I'll get the finance department to give you a bonus this month and I'll hand this house over to you in advance. You don't have to rush the payment for the house. Take your time. Yi Wanwan smiled and didn't stand on ceremony either as she accepted it all. Thank you, Chairman Chu. This old fox, Chu Hongguang, made himself look so generous, but he simply handed over the house a few days earlier than planned. He didn't lose out at all. After he spoke, he tried probing. Yi Bai, how confident are you in getting the role of Lin Luochen in Terrifying Dragon? Before, Terrifying Dragon exploded in popularity and made many newcomers famous. After that, the second season was supposed to be filmed, but due to some funding issues and other problems the production team had, they had to shelve the production midway. In the end, the popularity of martial arts films died down, so they didn't continue with the second season. That is, until the passing of Lin Zong made martial arts popular once again. Plus, Song Jin Lin wanted to fulfill Lin Zong's last wish. So this show would be a big production for sure. It was a rare opportunity. Within 10 hours of Song Jin Lin's announcement, many management companies already got down to work, but nobody was as swift as Yi Bai. Yi Wanwan replied plainly, "It'll definitely be Luochen." Chu Hongguang chuckled, "Great. Then I'll be waiting for your good news." This Yi Bai seems a little dark. He didn't want anyone other than Luochen and managed Luochen's comeback at such a good time. Could it be that he's able to foresee a person's death too? Did he predict that Song Jin Lin would film Terrifying Dragon too? No matter how he managed to do it, it's not a matter I should be concerned about as long as he's able to pin down Zhou Wenbin. After she had left Worldwide's office, Yi Wanwan didn't go to Dazzling. Instead, she headed back to Jean Garden. After all, today was an extremely special day. When everyone was trying to figure out who the mastermind behind Luochen was, the legendary god with marvelous foresight, great manager Yi, was crouching in the house uneasily, staring at the laptop in full concentration, and was ready to check the results of her college entrance exams. Teacher C, the moment has arrived. It's time to review the outcomes of your teaching. Yi Wanwan placed the laptop on her lap and rubbed her hands nervously. In contrast to Yi Wanwan's nervousness, Si Yi Han was sitting on the sofa opposite, sipping his tea leisurely. It was time. After a few deep breaths, Yi Wanwan finally signed onto the website and entered her admission number. She hovered her finger on the enter button and paused for a second, then pushed it down hard. Language: 142 points English, 148 points Liberal Arts, 283 points Math, 150 points. Damn. Even after she estimated her results, Yi Wanwan jumped in joy immediately after seeing these results. Especially when she saw her math results. With this overall score, she could get into Imperial Media. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yi Wanwan lifted her laptop in one hand and hopped over to Si Yi Han, hugging him. "Aw, Teacher C, I love you so much. I scored full marks on math." Full marks. Zhao Xingzhou would probably be in tears. Teacher C's fees were indeed a bargain and an honest deal. Why aren't you surprised at all? Did you peek at my results secretly before I saw them? Do you think there's a need for that? Si Yi Han stretched out his arm and pulled her into his embrace with an expression that read, "Do I even need to check the results when I'm the teacher?" Probably because he was infected by her cheery mood. The man's expression was much warmer than usual. Yi Wanwan agreed repeatedly. Yes, yes, yes. There's no need. After she had seen her results, Yi Wanwan's heart couldn't calm down. I'm so happy. It was the first time she felt so happy ever since being reborn. She was on the right track with her career. She got the house back and she even scored exceptionally well on her exams. I finally can return home. It would be her grandfather's birthday banquet soon. She could take this chance to visit. Not only did she fall out with her parents, but her relationship with her grandfather was extremely terrible as well. In her past life, she simply showed up with her atrocious makeup and outfits, causing everyone to treat the Yi family as a joke, angering her grandfather. Furthermore, during her grandfather's birthday banquet, Guyuze publicly announced the annulment of their engagement, and even announced the news of getting engaged to Yi Yi instead. Under Yi Yi's purposeful provoking, she lost control and made a scene. Not only did she thoroughly embarrass her parents, she even offended her grandfather and destroyed her own reputation. What's worse was that in order to see Gu Yuze during this birthday banquet, she spent half a month acting like a good girl and was finally allowed out of the house. After causing a mess like that, she was tortured badly by Si Yihan once again. In this life, she wouldn't allow those people to ridicule her parents in front of everyone, wouldn't push her grandpa and grandma away, and wouldn't allow Gu Yuze to get what he wanted. If she didn't destroy that bastard, Gu Yuze, then her last name's not Yi. She would take this chance to win Si Yihan's trust completely. Teacher Si, you were able to turn a fool like me into a genius. You have the ability to touch a stone and turn it into gold, changing something rotten to something incredible. Thanks for your trouble. Let your student give you a shoulder massage. Yuanwan was especially sweet today. Although she had already gotten her freedom in this life, and was able to attend the birthday banquet, she couldn't stop with her daily pacifying. Si Yihan felt the gentle little hands on his shoulders, and looked sideways at her emotionlessly, like he didn't see through her intentions at all. Late at night, Su Yi stood in front of his master, looking very confused. Contacted? The man asked coldly with that rigid face of his with a total lack of emotion. Su Yi replied instantly, yes, Great Master May already confirmed at his end. He'll be using Ms. Wanwan's name to attend the birthday banquet and congratulate Yi Hongwei. Su Yi's tone seemed calm, but the truth was that in his heart, he was like a river with surging currents. It was agreed that Yi Wanwan wasn't allowed to leave Jing Garden at all, and it was agreed that Yi Wanwan wasn't allowed to contact her family. Never mind that the principles are being broken one by one. Now he's even supporting her? What's he thinking? Could it be that since Gu Yuze will definitely be there at the banquet, he wants to show off a little in front of his rival? Mei Jingzhou is an internationally renowned great scholar in Chinese art, and is extremely lofty. Other than master, nobody in all of Imperial City could invite him. Inviting a national treasure to a banquet of this level? The place might not even be able to handle it. Forget it. As long as Yi Wanwan doesn't do anything funny when she sees Gu Yuze, it's fine even if the heavens can't handle it. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. A few days later, the college admission results were out, and Yi Wanwan had successfully been admitted into Imperial Media. It was also the day of her grandfather's birthday banquet. Before she took off from work, Yi Wanwan sent a text to Si Yihan. Baby, tonight's my grandpa's birthday banquet and I have to be there. Don't wait up for me for dinner, moi. She had been busy from morning till night getting ready for Luo Chen's casting for Terrifying Dragon 2, and didn't even have the time to find a birthday present. Yi Wanwan rushed back to the staff dorms, did her makeup again, changed her outfit, then headed straight to the antique market. Her salary wasn't high, so she couldn't get an expensive gift and had to make her gift special with a limited budget. Large and small booths lined the antique street. It was quaint and felt as if she entered another era. Yi Wanwan's eyes swept the market. Her exquisite brows furrowed slightly as she surveyed dozens of stalls. A messy young man dressed in shabby denim overalls squatted by a store in the antique market and sized up Yi Wanwan. He looked straight at her without the slightest intention of hiding it. In order to save time, Yi Wanwan already put on the dress she was wearing to the banquet, and attracted quite a bit of attention on her way over. However, there was something different about the way this man looked at her. It wasn't like the way other men looked at the opposite sex, but the way he scanned her. It was as if he knew her. The man had a lazy expression and the corners of his lips curved upwards when he met Yi Wanwan's eyes. Yi Wanwan walked up to him and sized him up, then crossed her arms and asked, "Done looking?" The guy suddenly laughed. "I thought you looked quite familiar, like I've seen you somewhere before." Hearing what he said, Yi Wanwan chuckled. "This pickup line is a little old, isn't it? Babe, I haven't made any sales for a day already. It's hard to make a living. Please help me out." The man showed off the products in his booth. After Yi Wanwan was sure she didn't know this person, she didn't waste any more time and turned away, ready to leave. Don't leave. The things I'm selling aren't just regular goods. Even if you don't want to get anything, just take a look." Seeing that Yi Wanwan was leaving, the youth tried desperately to grab her attention. Yi Wanwan turned her head and scanned the items in the young man's booth. With one glance, Yi Wanwan stopped in her tracks. The items he was selling were all different in shape. Unlike small trinkets and antique porcelain, they were more like various pieces of art made out of a kind of solid material. What's this? Yi Wanwan was intrigued by some delicate carvings, and she pointed to a white box. Seeing that Yi Wanwan was interested in his goods, the laziness in the man's eyes dissipated and he was suddenly energized. Girl, you have good taste. I knew you weren't just any old person. Sure enough, you know your stuff, the youth said proudly. He cleared his throat and said mysteriously, this was a snow wolf I hunted when I ventured to the cold north by myself a few years ago. I used the bones from its legs to create this beautiful box. It's very domineering, suits you well. You can ward off evil if you keep it in your home. Yi Wanwan ventured to the cold north, hunted a snow wolf, used its legs to create a bone box. This marketing strategy's too crazy. Why didn't you just say it's made of a lion's skull you hunted from the cold north? Yi Wanwan resisted bursting into laughter and pointed to another aesthetically pleasing item and asked again, what about this? You have really good taste. This was made out of the skull of an adult lion from the mountain ranges in South America. It was also hunted by me bare hand. The man said, pleased with himself. Yi Wanwan liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Seeing the suspicion in Yi Wanwan's eyes, the man asked pressingly, you think I'm bluffing? Yi Wanwan shook her head and swung her purse in front of the man and laughed. Years ago, after I hunted a brown bear weighing over thousands of pounds with my bare hands, I stripped its fur and made this purse with it. Ah! The young man looked at the purse in Yi Wanwan's hand and was slightly stunned. No way. The man rubbed his nose and was puzzled. I've hunted many brown bears myself with my bare hands before. I didn't know there are brown bears weighing over 1,000 pounds. Yi Wanwan looked at how he was so puzzled and was so helpless. His focus was on the brown bear's weight and nothing else. I've never seen any brown bear weighing a few thousand pounds before. Most of the brown bears I've hunted were at most around 1,300 pounds. The man replied seriously. You're something else, huh? Yi Wanwan gave a light laugh. This person's quite interesting. I'm all right. There's a technique to hunt brown bears. It's not very hard, the man said. Yi Wanwan shook her head. What I meant was that you even brought a scale with you while you hunted brown bears. When he heard that, he appeared unhappy and said disgruntledly, Girl, you're insulting me. I don't even need to weigh them. I know their weight with just one look. Oh, how much do I weigh then? Yi Wanwan asked casually. The man really scanned Yi Wanwan up and down before replying confidently, 165 pounds, give or take no more than 3 pounds. Yi Wanwan's face darkened in an instant. Is this man trying to make trouble on purpose? Seeing that there wasn't much time left, Yi Wanwan didn't want to keep talking nonsense with this man any further, and immediately turned to leave. Girl, aren't you buying anything? The man shouted from behind her. When Yi Wanwan heard him, she considered it. Although she couldn't tell what his goods were made of, they were beautifully made and she quite liked them. Too bad she didn't have much money on her, and had to quickly choose a birthday gift. It's cheap. The man persisted and continued yelling. Yi Wanwan paused. Without turning around, her voice instinctively rang out. How cheap? Man. 100,000 for one. Yi Wanwan. Goodbye. Man. 10,000. Yi Wanwan didn't turn her head. 1,000. I can't go any lower. He was desperate. 100. Yi Wanwan shouted back. Damn, is this even haggling? 100,000 to 100. This is robbery. The man was totally stunned. But in the next second, the man quickly shouted as if worried that she'd leave. Fine, 100 then. It's enough for me to have dumplings. So hard making business from you girls. If not for me not making a single sale in 3 months, I wouldn't even accept anything less than 100,000. Yi Wanwan made that offer nonchalantly and didn't expect him to actually agree to it. Surprised, she turned around swiftly and pointed at the sculpture that had caught her eye just now. I want this, please wrap it up. Anyway, she wasn't losing out and couldn't be cheated with $100. Sure. He took out a gorgeous gift box and placed the item in it. Girl, what's your name? He asked after he received the money. When asking for someone else's name, shouldn't you tell the person your name first? Yuanwan laughed. I'm nameless, Nya. The man was visibly happy when he told her his name. Oh, I'm famous, Yi. Yuanwan replied plainly. This guy, not only is he selling fake goods, even his name's fake, huh? Who would be called nameless? What kind of weird name is this? Were you adopted? Nameless Nya looked at Yuanwan bewildered. I guess you were adopted too, huh? The corners of Yuanwan's lips curled upwards, and she didn't keep talking nonsense with nameless Nya. She turned and disappeared into the street. After Yuanwan left, nameless Nya straightened his slightly crumpled denim overalls and sat next to his booth. He returned to his lazy self as he laid in a comfortable position. Famous Yi, interesting. The man smiled, revealing a languid and evil expression. Mummy, I want this. At that moment, a mother with a child around the age of 7 or 8 appeared in front of his booth and nameless Nya quickly stood up. Little bro, you have good taste. This was a polar bear I hunted in the far north years ago with my bare hands. Then I used its fur. Don't leave. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. At the old residence of the Yi family, outside the Grand Manor, it was almost completely blocked off by security personnel, forming a restricted area. Many reporters waited a few hundred yards away, each of them stretching their heads out, trying to peek into the old residence of the Yi family. One after another, numerous luxurious sports cars slowly made their way to the old residence. The stream of cars dazzled all the reporters. Big stars dressed in gorgeous outfits came out of the cars, walking out gracefully with poise towards the old house. The reporters stood outside the restricted area and gasped in shock continuously. They kept clicking their cameras and fought to get the best shots of famous figures. Chung Man and I, currently one of the top 10 A-list celebrities in the country. One of the reporters raised his camera up high and glanced at the wonderful figure that just passed. That's the big brother and sister from Emperor Sky? They're actually here. Each of the celebrities that arrived was extremely popular, making the crowd wish they could grow another pair of hands so they could take more pictures. Today's old Ye's birthday, and half of the entertainment industries arrived. This attendance surpasses even the Golden Orchid Award ceremony. Doesn't the Yi family already control half the entire entertainment industry? Too bad the place is entirely cordoned off. If only we could get in and take a few pictures, that would really be. With that said, the reporters started to complain and sigh, shaking their heads. It was already considered an honor to be able to stand outside and soak in the atmosphere of old Ye's birthday celebration. With the skills of the Yi family security guards, not to mention getting inside, but even if they got near the main gate, they'd probably be thrown out by the guards instantly. This Yi family's really powerful. They actually have so many big stars attending the banquet. I've never seen something so grand before. You call this grand? Although the Yi family's the big boss of the entertainment industry, that scandal many years ago caused the Yi family to suffer a great loss, and they haven't been able to return to their glory. If that incident hadn't happened, the Yi family would definitely be twice as rich. Scandal? What scandal? Hearing that, a few of the new reporters became interested and looked eagerly at the reporter who said it. The newcomers became very interested in the topic and they started probing. A scandal that could hurt the Yi family must have been a big one. Senior, please tell us and let us gain some knowledge. A slightly older reporter dressed in a reporter's attire had his pointy finger pressed against the gate. He lifted his gaze and in response to all the questions coming at him, he said secretively, this was the Yes family scandal. Although the Yi family wanted to hide this incident at all costs, because of the magnitude of it, the truth was leaked and many people dug out the truth together. In this day and age, it's no longer considered a secret anymore. A big corporation like the Yi Group naturally isn't as calm as they look on the surface. Many years ago, the scandal of the Yi family caused a ruckus throughout the entire industry, almost uprooting the Yi family altogether. The new reporters were more and more intrigued as they listened and shuffled closer to him with their ears pricked, afraid they'd miss out on important information. Everyone knows the president of the Yi group now is old Ye's son, Yi Shaoan, but a few years ago, Yi Shaoan was just a small assistant in the company. The slightly older reporter said mysteriously. What do you mean? A few of the reporters were confused. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Everyone knew who Yi Shaoan from the Yi group was. He was the boss of Yi group. How could he be an assistant years ago? The senior reporter looked at the crowd's curious gaze and said softly. That Yi Shaoan is the second son of old Yi. Old Yi has an older son called Yi Xiaoting. Before the scandal, Yi Xiaoting was supposed to take over the Yi group, and Yi Shaoan was just his assistant. There's something like this? The newcomer reporters weren't very familiar with the members of the Yi family. They only knew what was on the surface. Could it be fake? It was said that the boss of Yi group at the time, Yi Xiaoting, was involved in some serious gang activities and laundered the company's money away, embezzling a large number of public funds. These old stories were like bombs that blew these new reporters' minds. Is this Yi Xiaoting insane? He actually did something so atrocious? A month after that happened, Yi Shaoan sacrificed his ties of blood to righteousness and exposed Yi Xiaoting. Under all the irrefutable evidence, Yi Xiaoting admitted to his crimes. Old Yi raged, and after that, together with the senior management of Yi Group, they threw Yi Xiaoting out of the company, banishing this tumor. Ever since, the group's been in the hands of old Ye's second son, Yi Shaoan. The senior reporter sighed as he recalled the past. Then how's Yi Xiaoting now? A reporter asked out of curiosity. Him? After doing those deeds, nobody wanted a piece of trash like that. It's been said that he's working at some small company now. His son and daughter are useless as well. His son, Yi Mufan, is working for Yi Xiaoting's ex-driver, while his daughter's even more outrageous. Not only is she exceptionally ugly, she's an incompetent and ignorant girl, always stirring up trouble. The senior reporter revealed everything he knew. As for Yi Xiaoting's family, these reporters obviously didn't have a good impression of them. I really didn't expect that the Yi family was tied up with a bunch of scum like them. Yi Xiaoting's entire family are hopeless fools, but Yi Shaoan's daughter Yi Yi has a really excellent character and good looks. She's young. Yet she's even more capable than her father, Yi Shaoan. Today, she's the director of the talent recruitment department in one of the subsidiaries under Yi Group, Emperor Sky, and has groomed countless big stars. She's about the same age as Yi Xiaoting's daughter, but they're on opposite poles. If only Yi Xiaoting had a daughter like Yi Yi, he probably wouldn't be in such a pathetic state, another reporter said. As the saying goes, dragons beget dragons, phoenixes beget phoenixes, and the son of a mouse can dig holes. In other words, like father like son. Yi Xiaoting turned on his family and has a bad moral compass. With a father like him, how could his children be any better? A crooked stick forms a crooked shadow, right? The moment he said that, before anyone could respond, a white Bentley went past the crowd and slowly entered the Yi family's old residence. From the side window, you could see a girl with a delicate face as if sculpted from fine jade. In a split second, all the reporters' attention was attracted by that girl's breathtaking face. Each one of them opened their eyes wide, afraid they'd miss out on seeing this influential person. Very soon, the Bentley stopped by the Yi family's old residence. The driver got out of his seat and opened the door. The girl took a step out and slowly got out from the left side of the car. She was dressed in a white gown that seemed to be custom-made for her. Her long black hair was in a loose bun and was secured with a jade pin. She was magnificent and graceful, yet she was also delicate, causing all of them to palpitate with excitement. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. That girl had just appeared, yet she immediately stunned all the reporters and attracted gasps of surprise. Who's that star? Why haven't I seen her before? That's Yi Yi, the beloved granddaughter of the two elders of the Yi family, chairman Yi Xiaoan's only daughter. A reporter in the know replied. This statement drew the comments of many of the new reporters. Yi's too beautiful, huh? With that face of hers, she could even compete with the stunning artistes in the entertainment industry, not to mention that disposition of hers artistes in the industry can't even fight with her. Yi rarely appeared in public, so each time these reporters saw Yi, they were blown away by her good looks. This disposition is indeed innate. If Yi made a debut, just this face and disposition alone would be enough for her to explode in popularity. With Yi's status, why would she need to enter the showbiz? She's not some flower vase. She's capable and smart, alright. In the future, the entire Yi group will belong to her. A group of reporters was talking amongst themselves when a young man walked out of the car right after Yi. The man had a tall build and was incomparably dashing. He was dressed in a custom-made Brioni suit. Every detail was almost perfect. With a faint smile on his face, he walked directly over to Yi's side. Damn, who's that I see? Isn't he the successor of Imperial City's Gu Group, Gu Yuze? Ah, he's so handsome. A few of the female reporters starting screaming when they saw Gu Yuze. They were even more excited seeing him than Little Fresh Meat or other big stars. The Little Fresh Meats in the showbiz were completely overshadowed when compared to this man, or rather, they weren't even in the same category. It was as if they were from different dimensions altogether. The better-looking fresh meats in the showbiz were just limited to their good looks, and had merely undergone training on how to carry themselves. They weren't naturals. On the other hand, Gu Yuze was like Yi. His disposition and vibe were very fitting. His persona came about organically, and couldn't be compared to those idols who had undergone training. At this moment, some of the young artistes from Emperor Sky standing next to Gu Yuze and Yi lost their attractiveness instantly. There was an even greater contrast when they stood side by side. Under all the stunned looks, Yi flipped her hair gently over her shoulders. Her slender arms naturally hooked onto Gu Yuze's arm, as Gu Yuze lowered his head and revealed a tender smile to Yi. He placed his hand lightly over the small hand on his arm. The perfect couple then slowly made their way towards the Yi family's old residence. Seeing that Yi and Gu Yuze were so close, a reporter mumbled doubtfully, "Gu Yuze and Yi seem quite close, huh?" "Don't you know?" the senior reporter said. "Gu Yuze and Yi are dating." Gu Yuze's not only the successor of the Gu Group, but as a prospective son-in-law, he would also become the CEO of Emperor Sky Entertainment, one of the companies under Yi Group. Gu Yuze and Yi are dating? But I heard that Gu Yuze has a fiancé? Fiancé? He does. Gu Yuze has a fiancé, and she's also old Ye's granddaughter. She's called Yi Wanwan, Yi Xiaoting's daughter. When Yi Wanwan's name was mentioned, a few of the reporters revealed a meaningful expression. Yi Xiaoting's daughter. Yi Xiaoting's working at a small company today. He can't even provide for himself anymore, and that daughter of his is a known troublemaker and looks extremely ugly. How could she be with Gu Yuze? Never mind Gu Yuze or the Gu Group, unless he's blind, why would he choose to be with Yi Wanwan? That's right. I also heard that before. Yi Xiaoting forced Gu Yuze and the Gu Group to agree to this engagement, when in fact, Gu Yuze was in love with Yi at the time. Although it was from an unconfirmed source, I don't think it's fake. That Yi Wanwan isn't only ugly, she's so fat. With Yi Wanwan's ugly and fat look, who would want to marry her? If Yi Xiaoting didn't abuse his power to bully others and despicably broke apart Gu Yuze and Yi, how would Yi Wanwan have a shot at being Gu Yuze's fiancé? Most of these reporters only based their opinion of Yi Wanwan's looks on hearsay and hadn't seen her real life. But everyone said the same thing about Yi Wanwan's appearance, so there shouldn't be any discrepancy. After listening to the same words so many times, they'd come true even if they were fake. This had always been the case about rumors. The reporters lingered around for a few hours longer while the artistes arriving gradually trickled to a few as the welcoming of guests finally came to an end at the Yi family's old residence. However, many of the reporters stayed put. Nobody could guarantee that there wouldn't be any news throughout old Ye's birthday banquet. Even if they could merely catch some famous stars acting drunk, their long wait wouldn't be in vain. After half an hour, Those coming to celebrate Old Ye's birthday seemed to have all arrived and nobody else appeared. Later that evening, a taxi slowly drove into the place. Among all the luxury sedans, the old and shabby taxi seemed particularly conspicuous. Probably came to the wrong place, huh? Seeing the taxi, a few reporters got curious. Which person would show up in a taxi when they're attending the Yi family's birthday banquet? The Yi family's security guard stood outside the restricted area and stopped the car. After all, this was private property and not just anybody could be allowed inside. The driver stopped the car and looked annoyed as he turned to the family of 3 seated at the back. The middle-aged man had graying hair on his temples. His face was stained with hardships as he smiled apologetically at the driver, then got off from the car after making payment. In the front passenger seat, a handsome young man opened the car door. "This is private property. Please leave if you have no business here," a few of the security guards said coldly to the family of 3, impatience visible in their eyes. After being stopped by security, a hint of fury appeared on the face of the teenager. "Do you know who we are? Mu Fan, don't be rash," Liang Wanjun reminded her son gently when she saw him so hot-tempered. Yi Mu Fan furrowed his brows and gritted his teeth. Although he was unwilling, he still kept his mouth shut. Yi Xiaoting glanced at his son and sighed in his heart. He then took a few steps forward and said kindly, "Please inform them that Yi Xiaoting's here to offer birthday greetings to his father." Yi Xiaoting. Hearing that, the security guard was stunned. He had been in charge of security of the Yi family for so many years, and the leader of Yi Group was Yi Xiaoting before. Although he had never met Yi Xiaoting in person, how could he be unfamiliar with this name? You're Yi Xiaoting, the young master of the Yi family? The security guard looked somewhat confused and he scanned this family of 3. Other than the young man who appeared somewhat put together, this husband and wife looked particularly ordinary. Among all the guests here for the birthday banquet, one could even say they were dressed poorly. How did a person like this even resemble the all-powerful Yi Xiaoting of years past? "May I ask if you have the Yi family's invitation card?" The security hesitated for a moment before asking, "What nonsense are you spouting?" Without waiting for Yi Xiaoting to respond, Yi Mu Fan yelled, "We're here to celebrate Grandpa's birthday. Why would we need an invitation? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." A huge outdoor manor appeared after first stepping into the Yi family's estate. Rows of willow trees lined the sides, and the whole place was decorated with lanterns and colorful banners. It was extremely festive. The housekeeper of the old residence was an old middle-aged man. His long and narrow eyes were seemingly sharp. "Housekeeper Huang, I trust you've been well since we last met." A few of the middle-aged men who came to attend the banquet greeted the housekeeper with wide smiles on their faces. The housekeeper nodded in response, neither servile nor conceited, but if they took a closer look, they could see a distinct hint of loftiness, indicating his authority. In the outdoor manor surrounding the Yi house, a group of fresh meat from Emperor Sky Entertainment gathered together and exchanged gossip. "Isn't he just a housekeeper? He's a little too haughty, huh?" The fresh meat under Emperor Sky Entertainment glanced at the housekeeper's attitude and couldn't understand. Those who greeted Huang Mingkuan were mostly people with high status in Imperial City. "Haughty," a senior artiste laughed. "Housekeeper Huang is currently the most favored person by Yi Yi, and he also has a lot of power within the Yi family. With his power, relationship with Yi Yi and friendly relations with many officials and noble people, his reputation is much more important than each of you." The few fresh meat couldn't help but click their tongues discreetly. The Yi family was so powerful, but they didn't expect that the Yi family's housekeeper had so much influence too. A housekeeper reaching this position was indeed quite rare. A few people seemed to realize how powerful the Yi family was, and became more cautious with their behavior. At that moment, Yi Xiaoting, Liang Wanjun and Yi Mu Fan entered the manor, and were slowly making their way to Huang Mingkuan. "Housekeeper Huang, please bring me to see my father." Yi Xiaoting smiled at Huang Mingkuan. When Huang Mingkuan heard his request, he stopped greeting a few guests and looked sideways at Yi Xiaoting. There was a peculiar look in his eyes as he responded indifferently, Old master is changing. I'm afraid it's not very convenient for him to see you now, first young master. When the 3 words first young master came out of his mouth, the disrespect in his tone was excruciatingly piercing to the ear. There were a few middle-aged men standing in front of Huang Mingkuan. When they heard what he said, they glanced at Yi Xiaoting's family of 3 and looked at their pathetic outfits. A hint of mockery appeared in their eyes as they shook their heads and laughed silently. The previous all-powerful leader of the Yi group had reached his demise. Even Huang Mingkuan didn't treat him with respect at all. These 3 words, first young master, were equal to mockery. Yi Mufan's face changed instantly. He stared at Huang Mingkuan, who was using his power to bully him. Both his fists were clenched tightly by his side. He wanted to say something but was pulled back by Liang Wanjun as she frowned, shaking her head at him. Yi Mufan's gaze was frozen on Huang Mingkuan. His fists were clenched so tightly that his joints cracked. If it weren't for his father, Yi Xiaoting, recognizing his value, would he be in this position today? Now that his father had fallen, even this Huang Mingkuan was throwing rocks at him. Through the tense atmosphere, a voice suddenly called out, "Long time no see, housekeeper Huang." Liang Jiahao and Fang Xiumin, together with their daughter, Liang Shihan, appeared. "Mr. Liang." After Huang Mingkuan saw Liang Jiahao, his indifferent expression immediately turned into a smile, and his attitude changed completely. Liang Jiahao was the younger brother, with the same father but a different mother, of Liang Meixian, the wife of the leader of Yi Group, so obviously he received different treatment. Huang Mingkuan remained in his position today naturally, because he could make discerning judgments. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Shirhan, why aren't you greeting Uncle? Fang Xiumin smiled lovingly at her daughter, Liang Shirhan. Hi Uncle Huang. Liang Shirhan turned to Huang Mingkuan and smiled. Good girl. Huang Mingkuan laughed warmly. Shirhan's becoming prettier and prettier. Hearing that, Fang Xiumin's face was filled with happiness. How could anyone not think her daughter pretty? Before Fang Xiumin continued, she took a glance and saw Yi Xiaoting standing there, and the smile on her face faded instantly. She furrowed her brows and asked, "Brother-in-law, why are you here so early?" Yi Xiaoting looked at Fang Xiumin and replied, "Today's my father's birthday banquet. I was worried that traffic would be bad, so I came here a bit earlier." Upon hearing this, Fang Xiumin's face instantly contorted. She sized up Yi Xiaoting and spoke in an unsatisfied tone. "Brother-in-law, if you came earlier, then who's going to handle things at the office? Not to mention a batch of goods arrived at the office today, and has to be moved to the warehouse later. You left without saying a word. What if something happens?" Fang Xiumin was very sharp with her words, not leaving Yi Xiaoting any face at all in front of everyone. Each word of complaint traveled to the ears of the nearby crowd, and attracted a lot of silent laughter. The way they looked at Yi Xiaoting also became increasingly mocking. "Everything should be fine. I gave the key to Xiaozhang already. He'll help me by working late." Yi Xiaoting replied patiently. "You made Xiaozhang do your job?" Fang Xiumin sneered. "Brother-in-law, that's so easy for you to say, huh? Everyone in the office knows our relationship. You're using this position for your personal gain. If news of this spreads, people who don't know the situation might think we show favoritism when appointing our staff. They might also think that we're lenient with our relatives yet squeeze our other employees dry. How do you want Jiahao to command his employees like this? People might even take a jab at Jiahao's back." Fang Xiumin didn't have the slightest intention of shying away from the glances from the crowd. "Then, I'll rush back later." Yi Xiaoting sighed. "What's the point of going back now? How much time would be wasted by going there and coming back? If something really happened, what could you do even if you went back? Forget it. It's just our luck that you're our brother-in-law. Since you're here already, forget it." Fang Xiumin waved her hands in annoyance. Although she said forget it, every word she said pierced Yi Xiaoting's heart. Because of what her mother said, Liang Shirhan shot a look of disgust at Yi Xiaoting. "Enough, enough." Liang Jiahao turned to Fang Xiumin. "Don't you know what occasion it is today and the kind of people here? It's so embarrassing to fight like this here. What? I was just thinking about what's best for the company. It's not easy for us to manage a company, and I thought we already did our best to help just by providing for your sister and brother-in-law. Who knew we even had to give brother-in-law a job? Feng Xiumin pursed her lips unhappily as if she'd suffered a lot of grievances. Dad, Mom's right. Mom was also speaking for this family. Why are you always siding with the outsiders? Liang Shihan spoke up for Feng Xiumin. Huang Mingkuren, who was listening by the side, looked at Yi Xiaoting's face that was gradually turning uglier. A hint of ridicule appeared in his eyes as he sneered. Mr. Liang, don't blame your wife, she's just very direct, and anyway, she didn't say anything wrong. Liang Jiahao smiled bitterly and didn't have anything further to say. He was sandwiched in the middle. On one side was his family while the other was his older sister. He was indeed in a tight spot. Seeing all these people mocking his father, Yi Mufan's face turned totally dark. If not for his mother who kept pulling him back, he would have punched the nauseating faces of these people. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Not long after, the birthday banquet started and housekeeper Huang Mingkuan let everyone into the ballroom. In the ballroom, a white-haired elderly man sat on the main seat. This was Yi Hongwei. Although Yi Hongwei was old, he was still very healthy. There was a light in his eyes, and every gesture of his was dignified like how a person on the top seat should be. The energy of the power he held swirled around him, causing everyone to feel deep veneration for him. When his gaze swept over Yi Xiaoting's family amongst the crowd, Yi Hongwei's brows furrowed, but he didn't say anything and looked away coldly. Grandpa. Very soon, Yi Yi and Gu Yuzhe appeared before everyone. All they saw was the delicate beauty emanating from the girl. Her face was slightly pale, and she was natural and unrestrained as she gave birthday wishes to Yi Hongwei. Yi Hongwei looked at Yi Yi and smiled lovingly, allowing the pair to take their seats. At their table was exclusively members of the Yi family, no outsiders allowed. Yi Hongwei entertained some distinguished guests who held high statuses in Imperial City. Yi Jiejie, you've become prettier. Liang Shihan moved closer to Yi Yi and sat next to her as she looked enviously at Yi Yi's stunning looks. Yi Yi giggled with warm and gentle eyes. Thank you. Feng Xiumin saw her daughter together with Yi Yi, and she felt glad in her heart. This Yi Yi was the most promising amongst the younger generation of the Yi family. If her daughter could click well with Yi Yi, then in the future, they might be able to secure their position on the Yi family tree. Feng Xiumin hurriedly said, Shihan, you must learn from your Yi Jie, understand? Mom, that goes without saying. Yi Jie has always been my idol. If I could learn to be half as great as Yi Jie, I'd be satisfied with my life. Sitting next to Yi Yi, Liang Shihan was exceptionally well-behaved and had an unusually sweet tongue. Amongst everyone in the younger generation of the Yi family, you're the most outstanding one, Yi Jie. Feng Xiumin proclaimed while her eyes vaguely grazed over Yi Mufan. Yi Yi noticed Feng Xiumin's gaze, and she smiled gently, acting very modest. Those voices directly reached the ears of Yi Mufan, and his expression was fearsome. In the younger generation of the Yi family, other than Yi Yi, there was only Yi Wanwan and him, so Feng Xiumin was. Yi, I heard you and Yuzhe are going public soon? Feng Xiumin asked. Hearing her question, Yi Yi nodded and looked directly at Gu Yuzhe seated next to her. Her eyes were seemingly filled with inexhaustible, tender love. Gu Yuzhe looked at Yi Yi's beautiful little face, and his eyes were also filled with love as he laughed. It's happening very soon, actually. I've had this intention for a long time, but Yi was too considerate of other people's feelings, so it dragged on. Any shrewd person would understand the hidden meaning behind Gu Yuzhe's words, and the person whom Yi Yi was concerned about. Till today, the engagement between Gu Yuzhe and Yi Wanwan still stood. Although in everyone's eyes, Yi Wanwan was robbing Gu Yuzhe of the one he loved, and she was unworthy of this title, and was still stirring trouble to this day. She wasn't in the same world as Gu Yuzhe, yet she still held on to him shamelessly. As for Yi Yi, she was still worried that her sister was deeply in love with Gu Yuzhe, and didn't want to hurt Yi Wanwan's feelings. Comparing the two of them, Yi Yi and Yi Wanwan were complete opposites in everyone's hearts. How much one loved and envied Yi Yi was equal to how much one would hate on Yi Wanwan. Yi's too kind, which is why she gets bullied by some people. After all, the two of you are a perfect pair. Yi Yi is way better than your ex-fiancé, troublemaker Yi Wanwan. When she said the last word, Fang Xiumin felt something was off, and she quickly stopped speaking. That condescending tone of Fang Xiumin was too piercing to the ear. This time, before Yi Mufan could speak, Liang Wanjun's expression turned cold. This mother who'd been tolerating all the mockery and gossip up until now suddenly turned to Fang Xiumin when she heard what she said. Fang Xiumin, what do you mean by that? Jie, what do you mean? I didn't even say anything. Fang Xiumin curled her lips, unwilling to admit to being in the wrong. I heard everything you said just now. Liang Wanjun's breathing quickened. She couldn't take it any longer. Yi Wanwan was her daughter, and even if she had some bad traits, no mother in the world could let others talk shit about their own daughters. People could talk about her husband and her, and she would tolerate it, but insulting her daughter? She would never allow that. Sis, Xiumin's just very direct with her words. She didn't mean any harm. Liang Jiahao noticed the change in Liang Wanjun's face and quickly intervened. How could you guys do this? Liang Wanjun looked at her younger brother who was trying his best to smooth things over, her voice quivering. Yi Yi, who was seated by the side, looked coldly at Liang Wanjun and Fang Xiumin's argument. A hint of pleasure discreetly surfaced on her elegant face. What about us? Suddenly, Liang Shirhan, who was seated next to her, stood up. Our family feeds you and you live off of our backs. All these years, if it wasn't for my father's kindness and allowing you to stay, you guys would have been sleeping on the streets long ago. Look at the way your own daughter acts, don't you know it in your hearts? Yi Wanwan's a tyrant. She's so ugly, incompetent, and fake. How could anyone not insult her? Shirhan, why are you saying all this about your Wanwanjia? Liang Jiahao shot a look at Liang Shirhan. Dad, I didn't say anything wrong. Anyway, we're from the same generation, so why can't I criticize her? If she's so capable, then why doesn't she come and take her parents away? They're totally living off our family. We've taken care of her parents for so many years, but look at them, are they even the least bit grateful? If it wasn't for them, would you have always fought with mommy all these years? Liang Shirhan didn't give in at all. Her hatred towards Yi Xiaoting's family had reached its max. Liang Jiahao looked at Liang Shirhan and was somewhat helpless in controlling his own precious daughter. Finally, Liang Jiahao sighed and gave up. Facing Liang Shirhan's criticism, Liang Wanjun could only close her eyes as her heart ached painfully. Yi Mufan's fists were tightly clenched, and his heart was extremely stifled as he looked at the scene before him. At this moment, all the guests nearby gave them weird looks. Liang Shirhan looked at Liang Wanjun and the others who were silent and sneered. If it was my parents, I would never ditch them and not care about them at all. Shirhan, what would you do then? Fang Xiumin seemed to be asking this question on purpose. I'd definitely work hard to earn money to let you two settle down and live well. I'd never leave the two of you at someone else's house for years and trouble others. Liang Shirhan replied as a matter of fact. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Fang Xiumin sighed, pretending to be relieved. If only someone else's daughter was as sensible as you are, that'd be great. However, some people still treat their daughter like a precious baby with no knowledge of herself at all. Liang Wanjun's breathing became faster at the mockery from this mother and daughter duo. Big sis, I know it's not easy for your family, but it's not easy on our family as well. Is managing a company easy for Jiahao? That money was earned from his blood, sweat and tears, wasn't it? We're not rich and mighty. We really can't afford to have people live off us. Fang Xiumin said coldly. There were many guests in the vicinity and everyone started looking at them. Although they knew that Yi Xiaoting had been down and out these few years, they didn't expect that this family would be so ridiculous to treat someone else's home as their own, and live there for so many years. Not only were they ungrateful, they didn't have the intention of leaving at all. Yi Yi looked at this dispute with a trace of satisfaction in her eyes while her face remained gentle and warm as lifted her gaze to look at the unhappy Fang Xiumin and the helpless Liang Jiahao. She spoke leisurely. I'll pay for uncle and auntie, all right? And I'll also apologize on behalf of Yi Wanwan. Today's grandpa's birthday banquet, so don't be so agitated. If grandpa finds out, he'll be upset again. Hearing what Yi Yi said, Fang Xiumin's expression turned warmer, and considering that it was Yi Hongwei's birthday banquet, she didn't dare make a big fuss as she shook her head. It's not easy for our family either. All these years, this family has tormented us. Tell me, do you know of anyone who would be so shameless? They don't have their own house, yet they want to stay at someone else's house and not leave. Never mind that their own family isn't doing well. They even pulled others down with them. Yi Yi sneered in her heart as her eyes swept across Yi Xiaoting's family while her face kept that elegant and warm expression. However, just as Yi Yi was about to speak, a surprised gasp resounded from the back. Hearing that, everyone turned to the left to look. A fiery figure suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight. A stunning lady dressed in a flaming red evening gown slowly walked in. Under the shining light, her flawless and astoundingly beautiful charm roused everyone's gasps of admiration instantly. Every frown and smile by that woman made their hearts palpitate with eagerness. A luster shone in her crescent eyes like they contained a galaxy of stars. Although she had the body of a delicate girl, her aura was extremely refined, unlike anything from the human world. In a split second, everyone was drawn to that stunning figure. Who is this? She's too beautiful, isn't she? From the showbiz. Impossible. I've never seen her before. This look, this aura. I thought Yi Yi's looks were already quite outstanding, and didn't expect that there would be someone who looks even better. Where exactly did this girl come from? Every guest at the scene, no matter male or female, was completely dumbfounded. There was actually someone so remarkably beautiful. Everyone had doubts in their hearts and tried to guess who this person was. Yi Yi and everyone else also noticed this stunning woman. Initially, Yi Yi's appearance was already considered the most beautiful that night, but unexpectedly, that woman's appearance crushed Yi Yi. Yi Yi looked at that extraordinarily beautiful woman with a complicated gaze. She observed her graceful footsteps, each step moving towards them, and her brows furrowed slightly, a bad feeling inexplicably arising in her heart. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Liang Shirhan was also shocked by that woman's appearance. She didn't expect that someone better looking than Yi Yi would show up, but she didn't dare show her surprise on her face. The woman slowly walked past the crowd. As her figure went by, there were many gasps of surprise. However, just when everyone was trying to figure out where this woman came from, they saw her walking directly to Yi Xiaoting's table. She stood there, and her breathtaking eyes looked over everyone at the table, finally landing on Fang Xiumin. Her red lips started to open and she said in a very sweet voice, "What Auntie said was right." Auntie? Fang Xiumin stared at the woman with panic and suspicion in her eyes. Who exactly is this girl? Why did she call me auntie out of the blue? Not only Fang Xiumin and Liang Jiahao, but every guest in every corner of the room was flabbergasted. You are. Fang Xiumin looked at the woman with doubt and hesitation. The girl smiled. Her red-stained lips curved into an attractive smile as she said casually, I haven't seen all of you for a short period of time, yet Auntie has already forgotten me? I'm Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan. In a split second, everyone was completely taken aback by what she said. What kind of joke is this? This woman of unrivaled beauty is actually the infamous ugly girl from the Yi family, Yi Wanwan. The guests who had seen Yi Wanwan before were knocked senseless. In the past, Yi Wanwan always smeared her entire face with thick makeup, and she looked completely atrocious like a tomboy. No one expected that once she removed the thick makeup, the real face of Yi Wanwan would be so stunning. This shocking outcome stupefied everyone at the scene. Senior, didn't you say that? Yi Wanwan's an ugly girl. A little fresh meat from Emperor Sky regained his senses after the shock, and immediately turned to the guy next to him, confused. This The guy's eyes didn't leave Yi Wanwan. He stood rooted to the ground as the corners of his mouth twitched. Who'd have thought that? Yi Wanwan actually looks so attractive without the makeup? You're lying, huh? This is Yi Wanwan. So this is the so-called ugly girl of the Yi family who's madly in love with Gu Yuze, and was even dumped by him. One of the guests burst out in laughter. Truly, hearsay will always be hearsay, seeing is still believing. The ugly girl from the Yi family? Who are you kidding? With Yi Wanwan's looks, if this is ugly then Yi is completely inferior compared to her. If this is considered ugly, then what about all the female stars competing with their looks in the entertainment industry? Which one of them wouldn't be considered ugly? At this moment, Gu Yuze was slightly dazed as he looked at Yi Wanwan with a hint of disbelief and shock. He didn't expect that this beautiful woman before him was Yi Wanwan, who normally had on atrocious makeup and clothes in the past. However, Gu Yuze glanced at Yi from the corner of his eyes and noticed that her brows were furrowed. He instantly concealed his astonishment and sat there, pretending to be calm. Wanwan. Seeing that Yi Wanwan had suddenly shown up, Liang Wanjun was still somehow unable to come back to her senses and couldn't believe her eyes. The woman in front of her was her own daughter. Mom. Yi Wanwan calmed her emotions, smiled and turned to her astonished mother, giving her a reassuring look. Liang Wanjun was taken aback. She even thought that she heard it wrong, but Yi Wanwan actually just addressed her. Feng Xiumin's face turned pale instantly. Even if she was beaten to death, she wouldn't be able to guess that this extraordinarily stunning woman before her was actually the girl whom she had repeatedly called ugly. Yi Wanwan. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Seeing that extremely delicate little face of Yi Wanwan's, then looking at her own daughter, Liang Shihan, Feng Xiumin's expression instantly darkened. If Yi Wanwan's an ugly girl, then what's my daughter? The corners of Feng Xiumin's mouth were still twitching when Yi Wanwan turned to look at her with her eyes narrowed. She spoke with a fake smile. Auntie, I think what you said just now really made sense. Feng Xiumin was taken aback and couldn't recall what she said. However, Liang Shihan, who had returned to her senses, revealed a touch of jealousy in her eyes when she saw Yi Wanwan's stunning looks. How is this possible? How could Yi Wanwan be so beautiful? It's not fair. Liang Shihan recalled what Feng Xiumin said and sneered immediately. Yi Wanwan, since this is the case, why are you still not taking your parents away? Feng Xiumin had just been harping about how Yi Wanwan didn't care about her parents and forced them to stay at someone else's house. Since Yi Wanwan felt what Mom said was right, she should take her parents back. Liang Shihan stared at Yi Wanwan, pleased with herself, and waited for Yi Wanwan's response. What's the use of being so good-looking? She's still a useless flower vase. Yi Wanwan smiled faintly at Liang Shihan's villainous smug look, and her smile widened. She tilted her head slightly and laughed. Shouldn't it be you, cousin, who should take your parents away? Yi Wanwan's words shocked Feng Xiumin and Liang Shihan. Yi Wanwan, what did you say? At that moment, Feng Xiumin suddenly stood up and pointed angrily at Yi Wanwan. Then Yi Wanwan shot a smile at them, and a hint of coldness flashed in her eyes. Auntie, ever since the day you and Uncle got married, you've been living at our house. It's been over 20 years. Without waiting for Feng Xiumin to respond, Yi Wanwan immediately said, Our family's not wealthy and neither do we have a big house. After you and Uncle had Shihan, it became more crowded, and because of this my brother and I couldn't return home, and could only live away from home. Just now, Cousin Shihan gave a great speech and said that she'd take the two of you away, so you guys wouldn't bother others. That's great. Then my brother and I can return home and live with our parents. Yi Wanwan. What nonsense are you talking about? Feng Xiumin glared at Yi Wanwan and said, It's obviously your parents living in our house. Facing the enraged Feng Xiumin, the corners of Yi Wanwan's mouth curled up, revealing a devilish smile. Auntie, you're old and probably forgot about it. Before, when you got married to Uncle, the two of you were dejected and poor. Never mind the purchase of the house, even your wedding was settled by my parents alone, and the house you're living in right now was purchased by my father personally. allowing you and uncle to live in it temporarily. But after that, auntie and uncle didn't seem to have the intention of moving out, and my parents couldn't say anything either. After all, we're relatives. My parents obviously wouldn't do something so heartless like drive our own relatives away, and they hadn't collected a single cent of rent for 20 over years. However, I decided to speak up only when I heard that uncle and auntie have the intention of moving from cousin Shirhan's brilliant speech just now. If cousin Shirhan really has the backbone, then as her older sister, I feel quite relieved. With that said, Yi Wanwan looked at Liang Shirhan meaningfully and acted like she was unconvinced. However, from what I see, cousin Shirhan doesn't have the ability to do that right now. After all, she's been living in my house all this while and hasn't left before, so how can she even talk about taking her parents away? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yi Wanwan Yu. Feng Xiumin gritted her teeth. Her expression darkened, and her heart started beating anxiously. When she and Liang Jiahao got married, indeed they didn't have a single cent to their names. All the wedding expenses were paid for by Yi Xiaoting, but Feng Xiumin never gave much thought about it. Since it was given to them, those things naturally belonged to them. She never dreamed that Yi Wanwan would reveal all this in front of everyone. Yi Wanwan looked at Feng Xiumin's agitated face and shook her head helplessly. She then turned to Yi Mufan and said, "Go, it's been hard for us all these years, huh? However, it's not easy for them since they're a blended family. Even if auntie doesn't want to move out, as the younger generation, we have to endure a bit more. It's not nice to drive a family of 3 out anyway." Yi Mufan looked suspiciously at the glib-tongued Yi Wanwan. Not expecting that his own younger sister would embarrass Feng Xiumin in front of so many people, he felt delighted in his heart. Although he couldn't remove the grudge he held in his heart, he still played along with her and mumbled, "Our skins are obviously thinner," implying that Feng Xiumin's family was thick-skinned. Yi Wanwan nodded. Exactly. Unlike some other people who act like thugs and are so territorial, taking what belongs to the owner and making it theirs, even driving the owner out. What's that saying again? Yi Mufan rested his chin on his hand and pondered, right in sync with Yi Wanwan. Pigeons living in a magpie's nest. Yi Wanwan chuckled as she looked at Feng Xiumin's family indifferently. At this point, Liang Jiahao's face was totally red and he couldn't find any words to rebut. At this moment, all the guests looked at each other with strange looks. From Liang Shirhan and Feng Xiumin's words, they were given the impression that it was Yi Xiaoting's family who refused to leave Feng Xiumin's place. But it seemed like that wasn't the truth. The house Liang Jiahao and Feng Xiumin were living in at the moment was actually a gift from Yi Xiaoting. The house that Feng Xiumin's family is living in was actually bought by Yi Xiaoting? I really couldn't tell. From what Feng Xiumin's family said just now, I thought they were so kind towards Yi Xiaoting's family, but now, on the contrary, it's more like Feng Xiumin's family took advantage of Yi Xiaoting's family. The phrase "pigeons living in a magpie's nest" was really fitting. They've enjoyed the kindness of Yi Xiaoting's family, yet they mocked the owner of the house and even wanted them to move out. They're really thick-skinned. This has been a real eye-opener. TSK. That Liang Shirhan still spoke so sharply just now, no proper upbringing at all. I want to see just how she's going to take her parents away. Take her parents away. Didn't you hear Yi Wanwan mention that Liang Shirhan was still living in the house? Yi Wanwan, who are you calling a blended family? Are you even civilized? Feng Xiumin's face was red with ruthlessness in her eyes. Mom, she doesn't know anything about being civilized. I don't even know how she got into Qinghe High School. She's been the first from the bottom every year. I'm afraid she's already been expelled, Liang Shirhan said. Yi Wanwan wore a smile and remained silent for a moment before speaking. Obviously we aren't as civilized as cousin Shirhan. With cousin Shirhan's abilities, she should be able to take her parents away soon so my useless brother and I can return to live at home. After hearing what she said, Yi Mufan's body stiffened, and he shot Yi Wanwan a look. What a joke, Liang Shirhan snorted disdainfully. How can you take back what you've given away? Yi Wanwan, we didn't ask for the house from your father before. They were the ones who gifted it to us themselves. What's the meaning of bringing all this up now? Feng Xiaomin said viciously. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. At that moment, all the guests from every corner of the room were flabbergasted. Thick-skinned wouldn't be enough to describe this mother and daughter pair. Auntie, you don't have to be angry. Yi Wanwan laughed. Actually, the house that my parents gifted to you isn't big, so even if the three of you moved out, it's still quite small for the four of us. Since this is the case, on behalf of my parents, I'll gift the entire house to your family. Yi Wanwan then looked at Yi Xiaoting and Liang Wanjun and said, Dad, Mom, Auntie has a family of 3, it's not easy for her. If we really made her move out, I'm afraid they'll be homeless, and if outsiders hear about it, they'll think we're heartless. A bunch of keys suddenly appeared in Yi Wanwan's hands. Dad, Mom. Yi Wanwan placed the keys lightly in front of the both of them. The keys were dark purple and were about the length of a finger. On top of each of them were the engraved words Golden Seas. A house at Golden Seas? Seeing those keys, Feng Xiaomin and Liang Shirhan were completely dumbfounded. Golden Seas was one of the most luxurious villas in Imperial City. Today, it was high valued, but there was no property for sale now. Even if you had the money, you couldn't purchase it. How is it possible? Feng Xiaomin was in complete disbelief. Isn't Yi Xiaoting's property at Golden Seas already foreclosed by the court? Even if it was taken back, that's an exorbitant amount. How could Yi Wanwan even have the ability to afford it? Liang Wanjun took the keys in a daze as she and her husband turned to look at each other, completely confused. Even Yi Mufan's eyes were filled with shock. Yi Wanwan's long hair fell casually on her back, and her gaze swept across Liang Shirhan's family with a sense of mockery as she said, So, Uncle and Auntie, the 3 of you can have that house for yourselves. I'm afraid that my parents won't be used to living in that kind of place. In other words, the house they treated like a precious gem wasn't suited for her parents to live in at all. That house was simply given to them because they didn't like it. Feng Xiaomin gritted her teeth in anger and couldn't get any words out. At this moment, Yi Xiaoting looked at Yi Wanwan with a complex look. Is this person truly my arrogant and despotic daughter from my memory? Deep in Yi Xiaoting's mind, the two figures simply couldn't be reconciled, and he felt that they were two totally different people. From her look today down to her attitude and actions, there was just too big a contrast. Yi Wanwan, so what if you have a villa at Golden Seas? Who knows how you even obtained that property? Such a young age. Yet you don't even have a proper job and still haven't graduated from high school, and were even expelled. You're just a piece of scum in this society. Liang Shirhan pointed at Yi Wanwan and sneered viciously. She heard news that the school expelled Yi Wanwan long ago, and wasn't sure what this woman was doing outside now. Yi Wanwan didn't even look at Liang Shirhan, nor did she even have the slightest desire to respond. Shirhan, you'll be entering Imperial Media University soon and will be one of the elite pillars of society, so don't you waste your breath debating with this useless scum. Feng Xiaomin sneered. Imperial Media? It's at the peak of the pyramid in the media profession. It's highly revered. All the guests seemed doubtful as many of them sized up Liang Shirhan. Being able to enter Imperial Media at this age, her future will be bright and limitless. Many media experts couldn't enter Imperial Media even if they wanted to. Imperial Media University was said to be the most stringent in their enrollment in all of Imperial City, although there weren't many who were accepted in each round. Those who walked out of there became the elites of the media world. Hearing the surrounding discussions, a proud smile replaced the gloominess on Feng Xiaomin's face instantly as she looked condescendingly at Yi Wanwan. Liked it. Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Shirhan, let's go congratulate the old man. When she considered how her daughter had been admitted to Imperial Media, Feng Xiaomin became arrogant once again. She stood up and hauled Liang Shirhan towards the main seats at the front. Following the arrival of Liang Shirhan and Feng Xiaomin at the main table, a group of elders turned to them. Grandpa, I want to wish you a healthy, long and enjoyable life. Liang Shirhan looked at the elderly man with an obedient smile. Yi Hongwei didn't move at all. He was extremely composed, and although he looked a little old, he still had the dignified manner of a lion. After some time, Yi Hongwei nodded, indicating his appreciation. Shirhan. Feng Xiumin gestured to a white-haired old man wearing glasses seated next to Yi Hongwei. This is a guest professor at Imperial Media, Professor Liu. Hurry and greet him. Not long from now, Liang Shirhan would be entering Imperial Media University, so Liang Xiumin naturally wanted to take this opportunity to introduce her to Professor Liu. How are you, Grandpa Li? Liang Shirhan asked in her sweetest voice. Hearing that, Liu smiled and replied, Liang Shirhan, right? I know that for this batch of students, you must be quite outstanding to enter Imperial Media at your age. You have to put in much more effort in the future, alright? Thank you for your praise, Grandpa Li. I will work hard for sure. Liang Shirhan nodded obediently. Feng Xiumin was about to speak when a gentle voice interrupted her from behind. Grandpa, I wish you longevity and happiness. Yi Wanwan was donned in an appropriate evening gown, and her actions were extremely elegant. Seeing Yi Wanwan, Yi Hongwei's brows furrowed instantly. Yi Hongwei didn't have a good impression of this granddaughter of his. In the past few years, Yi Wanwan barged into the old residence of the Yi family and made a huge racket countless times. Each time, Yi Hongwei's impression of this girl worsened, and today he didn't want to see her at all. And Yi Hongwei's tone had an obvious hint of coldness. Noticing the old man's attitude towards Yi Wanwan, Liang Shirhan had a complete lack of apprehension as she shot a glance over at Yi Wanwan. My mother and I still have some things we want to discuss with Grandpa and Professor Liu, so please leave us for a moment. Without waiting for Yi Wanwan's response, Professor Liu suddenly stood up, narrowed his eyes and wiped his glasses with his fingers, taking a good look at Yi Wanwan. Which school did you graduate from? Professor Liu asked. Mr. Li, I'm afraid you'll think it's a joke if I told you Yi Wanwan got expelled by the school even before she graduated high school. Feng Xiumin gave Yi Wanwan a sideways glance and sneered before Yi Wanwan replied. Yi Wanwan. At that moment, Professor Liu's face was blank and a hint of bewilderment flashed in his eyes. You're a student from Qinghe. Upon seeing Professor Liu's reaction, Yi Hongwei's face turned ugly. Everyone at this table was an important guest. Could it be that this Yi Wanwan had been so disgraceful that even Professor Liu knew about it? With that thought, Yi Hongwei gave Yi Wanwan an even more critical gaze. Yi Wanwan looked at Professor Liu and nodded slightly. Yes, I am. No wonder I thought you looked quite familiar. Professor Liu said excitedly and revealed a touch of warmth in his eyes. Professor Liu looked at Yi Hongwei, whose expression was completely frozen, and said with excitement in his eyes, Old man, this granddaughter of yours is outstanding. Hearing Professor Liu's words, everyone in the room was stunned and didn't understand what he meant by that. Both mother and daughter, Feng Xiumin and Liang Shirhan, looked at each other, in total confusion and bewilderment. Yi Hongwei was taken aback, and he asked casually, What do you mean? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Haha, old man, don't you know yet? Professor Liu laughed and gestured towards Yi Wanwan. He said, This granddaughter of yours is outstanding. She's had the top score in our city for the liberal arts paper. Amongst everyone in this batch of new students, Wanwan secured the first place. No, actually, for the past 3 batches of students, nobody surpassed Wanwan. Us Imperial Media nearly started a big fight with Imperial City University over her. Thankfully, Wanwan finally chose Imperial Media. I even wondered which family had such a great blessing to be able to raise such an outstanding girl. I didn't expect it'd actually be your family. I say, old man, you've hidden this precious granddaughter of yours very well. In the past, I've only heard you mention Yi, but I didn't think that you groomed someone even more amazing. Yi Wanwan, I really have to take my hat off to you. Professor Liu became more excited as he looked towards Yi Wanwan with an undisguised admiration in his eyes. Professor Li, you're flattering me. I was just lucky. Yi Wanwan smiled and replied gracefully. Wanwan, if I had your luck in the past, I'm afraid I would be so full of myself that I wouldn't know my own name anymore. You can still be so calm and composed, huh? Professor Liu laughed and shook his head, becoming increasingly fond of this neither servile nor overbearing, cool-headed girl. Wan, you were wrong. All of a sudden, another elderly man stood up at the main table and shot an unhappy look at Liu. This elderly man was dressed in a white suit, radiating health and vigor from his body. He appeared to be a rich and honorable person. He was no stranger to everyone. He was Zhou Qinggang, a board member of Imperial City University, which claimed to be the top institution in Imperial City. Wan, Imperial City University promised that we would recommend you for postgraduate studies, but you chose Imperial Media University in the end. It really hurt our hearts. Imperial City was really genuine and sincere in inviting you to join us, and our conditions were in no way worse than Imperial Media's. Zhou Qinggang sighed and felt it such a pity that he couldn't snatch such a good seed from Imperial Media. If he'd known that Yi Wanwan was Yi Hongwei's granddaughter, he would have definitely come over to Old Ye's place to snatch this girl. Zhou Qinggang, Wanwan already chose us, Imperial Media, so you should stop harping on about it. Anyway, when school starts, Wanwan will be a student at Imperial Media University, so you should just give up. Professor Liu laughed. That may not be the case. This hasn't been confirmed yet. Wanwan merely had this intention, so who knows, she might choose Imperial City University in the end. Zhou Qinggang didn't want to admit defeat. He even turned to look at Yi Wanwan and tried to express that he thought very highly of her. At this moment, these two prestigious academics of Imperial City were fighting over Yi Wanwan like kids. This scene silenced all the guests in the room, as if there were only Zhou Qinggang and Liu's voices left in the world. It was as if there were roots growing out of their feet. Both mother and daughter, Liang Shihan and Feng Xiumin, stood rooted at the same spot. There was a simultaneous explosion in their heads before everything went blank. The one they called incompetent and useless, the scum of society, was actually someone academics from Imperial Media University and Imperial City University fought over. Didn't Liang Shihan and Feng Xiumin say that Yi Wanwan hadn't graduated from high school and was expelled? Yes, they did. I almost believed what they said and never expected this turn of events. I see that Yi Wanwan hasn't even said a single word to refute. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Haha. How is this not a rebuttal? She's treating mother and daughter like clowns and doesn't even show the slightest desire of caring about them. This is a true goddess. Yi Xiaoting and Liang Wanjun watched as Liu and Zhou Qinggang fought over Yi Wanwan at the front. They felt as if they were in a dream and everything was unreal. They couldn't connect all this with the daughter who had broken their hearts. Old Yi, you should persuade that precious granddaughter of yours to come to Imperial City University. You know yourself how high our teaching standards are. Zhou Qinggang turned to Yi Hongwei and changed his target, honing in on Yi Hongwei instead. Yi Hongwei immediately became the focus of the main table. Yi Hongwei was slightly startled. He turned to look at the calm and composed Yi Wanwan with a complex look. It hadn't hit him what the two people were debating about. Yi Wanwan actually had such astounding results. She really exceeded everyone's expectations. Old Yi, you better not be up to any mischief. Otherwise, I'll break all ties with you. Liu was upset and spoke hurriedly, afraid he'd lose to Zhou Qinggang. Wanwan, your intention is to enter Imperial Media, right? Don't be swayed. Liu didn't forget to warn Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan stood by the side, unsure whether to laugh or cry as she watched these two squabbling over her. Her eyes suddenly met Yi Hongwei's mixed gaze, then a grin spread across her face. She walked slowly until she stood in front of Yi Hongwei directly and said gently, "I'll listen to Grandpa." Listen to Grandpa? All the guests at the scene thought they experienced an auditory hallucination. They already heard that Yi Wanwan and the Yi family's old man were like fire and water, and that she often appeared at the Yi old residence to wreak havoc. But at this moment, Yi Wanwan stood right in front of Yi Hongwei, looking completely like an obedient granddaughter. Where's that trace of animosity between them? Tonight, It seemed like every bit of hearsay about Yi Wanwan was just rumors that would be taken down by Yi Wanwan personally. Even Yi Xiaoting and Liang Wanjun were in disbelief, much less the guests. This was really the daughter who hadn't visited them for years and had a deep feud with the Yi family? As for Yi Mufan, he looked as if he'd just seen a ghost. Fang Xiumin and Liang Shihan's minds went totally blank with each piece of news blasting their heads one after another, instantly destroying any arrogance and smugness they had. They had no clue how to retreat to their seats and didn't dare to speak a word. They really wished everyone would forget their existence. At the side of the main table, the old man, Yi Hongwei, sized up this granddaughter standing in front of him again, pondering something. Old Yi, this is truly a precious granddaughter. She'll even listen to you about which university to choose. Zhou Qinggang felt rather helpless. Old Yi, what do you think? Professor Liu asked anxiously. Hearing this, Yi Hongwei thought deeply for a moment. His far-sighted and majestic eyes restrained an inexplicable glow as they swept across Yi Wanwan's face. He then retracted his gaze and spoke in a steady and powerful voice. Since her intention was originally towards imperial media, that shall be it. You this old Yi? Zhou Qinggang's only hope was shattered and his face had nothing but resentment all over it. Ha 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 ha, old Yi. You really dote on your granddaughter and know the strength of imperial media. Liu was very glad and satisfied with Yi Hongwei's words. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Watching from a distance, Yi Xiaoting had been silent all this time. He furrowed his brows as he looked at Yi Wanwan, who seemed to have turned into a completely different person, and his heart was filled with doubt. The daughter from his memory would never be so sensible and obedient, and she even hated the Yi family to the core. Yi Xiaoting wondered whether the sudden appearance of Yi Wanwan at her grandfather's birthday banquet was simply for her to give her grandfather her wishes. Or did she have any other motives, like ruining this banquet and embarrassing the entire Yi family completely? Yi Xiaoting obviously didn't want his own daughter to do that, but it had been so many years, and he was honestly quite tired of it already. Yi Wanwan caught wind of her father's suspicions unintentionally and felt desolate. In her previous life, her behavior was indeed too much, and she really was like fire and water with the Yi family. She never forgave her parents and was filled with hatred. In her previous life, she did attend her grandpa's birthday banquet, and she caused a complete pandemonium at the scene in front of all the guests, making her parents and the Yi family thoroughly embarrassed. Her grandfather was so agitated that he had a sudden heart attack and was hospitalized for half a month. With that thought, Yi Wanwan retracted her gaze and slid closer to Yi Hongwei. Yi Hongwei didn't reject Yi Wanwan, and even the coldness from his face dissipated. At this moment, it had already been quite some time since the start of the banquet, and guests headed to the chairman's seat, one after another, to wish him well and present their gifts. The gifts from the guests were mostly just a formality, and didn't have any significance in the eyes of the older generations. They merely took a glance at them and didn't find any novelty in them. After some time, Liang Jiahao and Fang Xiumin's family went up. Liang Shihao held onto a considerably costly inkstone in her hands and presented it to Yi Hongwei. Then, using her sweetest voice, she said, "Grandpa, I know you like to write and draw, so my parents spent a very long time to specially prepare this inkstone for you. I hope Grandpa likes it." Fang Xiumin spent quite a bit of effort in order to obtain the inkstone, and prepared it to be gifted to Yi Hongwei at his birthday banquet to win his favor. Due to the incident just now with Yi Wanwan, Fang Xiumin had completely embarrassed herself, and she had to depend on this inkstone to win the old man's favor. Yi Hongwei's gaze swept across the inkstone and nodded slightly, getting someone to put it aside. Although Yi Hongwei didn't have any special reaction, his slight nod was an indication of approval that made Fang Xiumin and Liang Shihan both heave a silent sigh of relief. Shortly after, Liang Shihan glanced at Yi Wanwan's empty hands. Wow, it's Grandpa's birthday, yet someone actually came empty-handed. Tizke. Shihan, you better not learn from some people who only know how to be pretentious and bring only her big mouth to Grandpa's birthday. Feng Xiumin had lost face in front of Yi Wanwan just now, so she couldn't miss an opportunity to mock Yi Wanwan. Grandpa! Yi Wanwan looked at Feng Xiumin and Liang Shihan, and the corners of her mouth curved up slightly, revealing a cold sneer. Who's your grandpa? Following what Yi Wanwan said, a few guests laughed instantly. The smile on Liang Shihan's face stiffened instantly. The meaning behind what Yi Wanwan said was very obvious. Feng Xiumin's family didn't have anyone with the surname Yi, but Liang Shihan kept calling him grandpa so affectionately. Just thinking about it made her nauseous. You! Feng Xiumin glared at Yi Wanwan. Her face completely contorted in anger. You better not bring your daughter here and claim kinship in such a senseless way. We, the Yi family, never had the practice of simply acknowledging any random people as family. Yi Wanwan turned away when she finished speaking without bothering to see their reaction. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. With just a few words, Yi Wanwan instantly made it clear to everyone that she was Yi Hongwei's blood granddaughter, and had the true blood of the Yi family flowing in her. This was her stage. While Feng Xiumin and Liang Shihan instantly became mischief doers with just a few words from Yi Wanwan. At this moment, both mother and daughter were totally embarrassed. Facing criticism from all the guests, their faces turned red, and they didn't dare to speak anymore. The gift-giving segment continued, and after Feng Xiumin and Liang Shihan presented their gifts, everyone was very curious to see what Yi Wanwan prepared as a gift. Even the person on the chairman's seat, Yi Hongwei, kept turning to look at Yi Wanwan. At this point, Yi Wanwan felt slightly helpless in her heart. At this point in time, she was still impoverished and didn't have any spare cash to buy an expensive gift, so she could only put in more effort on the thought and bought a few Buddha pearls at the antique market. Then she personally strung them into a bracelet. Although she did put a lot of thought into it, it wasn't expensive. Following another guest who finished presenting his gift, Yi Wanwan took a few steps forward, looked at Yi Hongwei and said gently, Grandpa, Wanwan has prepared a little gift for you as well. All right, Yi Hongwei nodded slightly. However, even before Yi Wanwan could take the Buddha pearls out, housekeeper Huang Mingkuan entered the banquet hall, holding an exquisite box in his hands. Old master, this is the gift Miss Wanwan prepared for you. It was placed out at the front just now and I saw it, so I brought it here. Huang Mingkuan spoke while a look of victory flashed in his eyes. Seeing this, Yi Wanwan's expression changed slightly. She deliberately placed this gift box outside the villa, as she was afraid it'd cause a misunderstanding, so she didn't bring it in. In the box was the weird bone ornament she purchased from nameless Nye for 100 yuan. Yi Wanwan scanned the box carefully, and it was obvious that the packaging had been tampered with by someone. Obviously, Huang Mingkuan opened the gift box, and after he saw the bone ornament, he brought it in on purpose to frame her. Today was her grandfather's birthday banquet. A joyous occasion, and according to the older generation's interpretation of their destinies, if they found any bone product similar to a skull, an iciness emerged in Yi Wanwan's heart. This Huang Mingkuan was really loyal towards Yi, and even now, he hadn't forgotten to trip her up. However, the gift box was already in Yi Hongwei's hands, and Yi Wanwan couldn't stop him even if she wanted to. What did Yi Wanwan get him? It looks quite heavy. I'm not sure, it really does look quite heavy. Yi Wanwan was Yi Hongwei's blood granddaughter, so whatever she gave him would naturally attract everyone's attention, and also, Yi Wanwan had already given them all quite a few surprises today. Everybody started speculating about how extraordinary Yi Wanwan's gift would be this time. At this moment, Yi Hongwei reached out with both hands and slowly opened the gift box. However, the second he opened the gift box, there were gasps from all over the hall and everyone's face changed. After Yi Xiaoting and Liang Wanjun saw what was in the box, their entire bodies stiffened and their faces turned ashen. All they saw was that in the exquisite gift box was a white skull lying there quietly. They weren't sure which animal the skull belonged to, but it seemed ferocious and particularly dazzling under the light. Everybody fell into a dead silence at that moment, and all their eyes were trained on Yi Hongwei. At that moment, Yi Hongwei's pupils constricted, and after taking a few deep breaths, His entire body shook as he lifted his head suddenly, and his ice-cold eyes were like daggers, piercing directly through Yuan. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.